Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy Jack here at the Irish Hotspur, here to deliver you that Friday fan show here, everybody. It was a late one last night, so probably felt a little bit kind of unkind to maybe, make you guys stay up super late for a fan show yesterday. So we kind of have one this morning for you guys, or maybe afternoon, wherever you guys maybe are in the world. Here's your Friday fan show, everybody. I'm looking forward to it because I think there's plenty to talk about, probably as well, having to do with the ownership, the likes of the result yesterday, which is a bit of a confusing one, I'll be honest, because with a draw, you're sort of left, kind of thinking, is there still a team in there? Do they just kind of turn it on when they want to? What has there maybe been some type of changes already made by Ryan Mason that's making us play better? Those sort of kind of questions, which to you maybe probably are kind of worth answering because it could give us some type of answer for the rest of the season in terms of Europe. But everybody, if you are already in here, apologies for getting started late. Was just kind of having a nice little chat with everybody in the background, watching the highlights, getting kind of caught up on all that sort of stuff. So do apologies for my lateness, typical on my behalf. But everybody, smash that like button for me, please. I'm going to get to the comments here, greet you all in here, and then I'm going to bring on my first guest of the afternoon, Mia, and we're going to go through plenty of the topics that there is to discuss. Android 890s in the house saying at least they showed a little bit of fight last night, but for God's sake, Dyer didn't even get a tackling for that goal. Is disgraceful, and that open header he had on a positive attack was better. Android, we were talking about this at length. I called him Moonhead plenty of times in the background there. And what I would say too is Dyer probably just looked like the exact same version of himself, I thought, against Leicester City with those Iheanacho goals, where it seems like when he's found in those sort of one-on-one sort of positions with, an opposing sort of striker or winger or whatever it may be, he really seems to struggle with any sort of kind of, idea of how to either show the guy to sort of, maybe more kind of less dangerous areas. He kind of gives them kind of whatever angle they seem to want. He lets them cut inside, outside, and lets them shoot it usually on their strong foot as well. And also with the Rashford goal, the way that he was able to just sort of motion and kind of just make it so obvious for Rashford to take it down that left-hand side. Someone who's also clearly a very two-footed player, just really was shocking defending, like you said, to never even make one sort of attempt at it. He is basically the last man as well. He should be making some sort of challenge eventually at Marcus Rashford, and he just didn't. I thought it was really similar to the likes of the Iheanacho goal. At least that's my opinion. Sue Smith is in the house. Good to see you, Sue, saying, what's the or she's saying, gutted the stream went down, watch alongs aren't the same anywhere else. Sue, I really appreciate that, and it's my fault at the end of the day, Sue. I think some of the sort of like ways that all the various things that we do, from like the scoreboard software to plenty of other stuff, just seems to be sort of kind of crapping out on me right now. And I'm going to have to get down to the bottom of it, sort of figure it out, maybe blow some dust off the modem, things like that. Cause usually the internet's never really been much of an issue for me. So I'm going to have to take, a big dive into what's maybe going wrong. But I do appreciate the love and appreciate your patience as well, Sue, because I know it's kind of not easy, especially over two kind of tough games as well. I don't really like seeing the watch along not performing, at its normal sort of functions, especially for kind of two games like that. I'd rather that happen when we're maybe, ideally like against a Preston North End or like something like that. That's when I would love for maybe the watch along not to be at its best. But appreciate your patience nonetheless. Tottenham forever in the house. Big up, Dave and Jack. Was at the was at the damn statue for the goal. Dyer was a damn statue for the goal last night. When will he ever bloody learn to leave our club? I think I found out the person that is responsible for the likes of the contracts, and of course Daniel Levy plays a major part in it. But I believe it's a lady named Rachel Capelhorn or Capelhorn or something like that. I think it's like Capelhorn, a very kind of like official sort of like surname. But she seems to be the one responsible for the player contracts, by the way. Tottenham forever. Mark is in here. Dyer is so bad. How is it possible that Levy is looking at giving him a 3-year extension? He would find it difficult in the championship. I'd probably ask you yourself, Marcus, if you went through the whole Premier League right now, what team does Dyer get into right now? Very, very few. Even when you look at the likes of a Leicester City backline, or even the likes of a Bournemouth backline, Nottingham Forest backline, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be too keen on taking Eric Dyer at this moment in rate. And also, we are the 6th worst defense in the league. So even there are teams that are sort of in that relegation kind of battle right now that have a better defense than us. So no way they would take Eric Dyer at this stage. Pick yourself up, my man. Proud to be a Geordie. Said, get the likes up, you bums. Appreciate the support, my friend. Thanks for telling him what to do, but keep it civil, my man. Chris is in the house saying, Mark, maybe Dyer's got some naughty pics of Levy and blackmailing them. I mean, any sort of, theory works at this stage, Chris, because I don't get how he continues to get a place in this squad. And let's just hope that all the Dyer contract renewals, are just sort of I don't know, just hearsay or just sort of kind of just made up rumors just to maybe kind of, piss off the fan base, even further. Ellie's in the house. I'm on, but had to say big up to you and David and Jack, the best in the land in the Irish Hotspur Harris Army troops, a war cry for the remaining matches. Come on, you Harris Army, big yourself up, Ellie. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you had to say about the protests and just sort of the game and everything. Because I think I caught you in the We Are Tom TV video there, Ellie. I think I saw you in the background. Big yourself up. Good to see you, though. And also, we have the likes of Bald Bean Counter in the house saying he just needed to look at the ball the right way and it would have gone in. I think you mean with the Eric Dyer missed, yeah, with the Eric Dyer missed sitter. To be fair, I think he's missed similar ones. It was probably in the Man United game that was just probably the biggest of them all where we really needed it most. But I can recall actually some other sitters that he's had this season. I think he had a goal in the very beginning of the season, right? Wasn't it? It might have been like Southampton or something, like one of the early stages of the season. He did get a goal from a set piece. But since then, I feel like we're just watching Eric Dyer either just not really make any sort of attempt at trying to get a goal from a set piece, or he's actually missed a few of them. If anything, he's missed any time. I think he's had, a big sort of kind of a glaring header like that. I've seen him either hit it off the bar or just sort of miss his chance, really. So that's how at least my memory kind of has been serving me. Big yourself up, AK Shags. Come on, you Spurs. I'm ready to be hurt again come Sunday. Get ready, my man. Good to see you, Jacob, in the house. Jacob, let me know. I'm going to send you over the link because I know I stole over your fan show membership. So let me send over you the link. You don't need to use it today, my man, but I see that you're up bright and early in the likes of El Paso. Good to see you, my friend. And also, I think you saw yesterday at the stadium, the El Paso Spurs official supporters group, had had a banner or something, go across, which is always good to see, my man. And hopefully you're keeping well. And when I'm thinking of, the likes of Texas at this moment in time, I really want a nice little breakfast burrito, but I'm going to give myself, let me find it, Jacob. Just a sec. You watch me, everybody type in a link and send it over. All right, Jacob. Like I said, don't need to use it if you don't want to, my man. But like I said, I stole your fan show membership that one time from True Sets Free, so I have to keep doing the right thing. Big yourself up, my man. Phil Coys is in the house. Phil Army, big up, lads. Much better performance from the lads against United, especially going forward. Too little, too late now, though we're giving ourselves too much to do. Company and Gallardo. Phil Army. Let me know what your thoughts are on Company, maybe versus Gallardo. I feel like Gallardo has probably been around maybe a little bit longer, I guess, and sort of maybe what people, I don't know, it feels like he's been around, hasn't maybe been taking the job yet because he probably doesn't have maybe all the credibility to be, given that chance yet in the Premier League. I feel like Gallardo is probably going to more likely head to La Liga, maybe head to like a Liga NOS, like or something, in Portugal. But yeah, I feel like Gallardo, before he makes that big step up to the Premier League, I wouldn't be surprised if he makes kind of maybe more of a step maybe towards La Liga first. Likes of Vincent Kompany, as much as I am, kind of impressed by what he's done so far. I think he's only done basically the best any person can do, at the likes of Burnley. It's only really been a year, right? And I feel like you need to give him more time. And I'd like to see how he actually does with the likes of, the Premier League. We saw Thomas Frank have a very sort of attractive, very, nice, easy on the eye sort of football with Brentford when he was in the Championship. But then when he moved over to the Premier League, all of a sudden Brentford had to sort of learn how to play a different style, right? They couldn't play that sort of, possession dominant type of style when they're playing with majority Championship players. So I think Vincent Kompany is going to have to make a similar sort of kind of tactical change and have to make that sort of adaptation. And that all comes with kind of moving to the Premier League. And so I'd be more curious to see how he handles that sort of thing, because that will be maybe a real test for what type of manager you really are. But let me know what your thoughts are on that. Big up, Welsh Gal. Good to see you in the house. Big up, lads. Big up to all the Harris Army. Off today, Welsh Gal. Let me know if there's anything, in the fridge or perhaps something that we're going to be, maybe a white wine or, red wine. Let me know. Maybe anything in the fridge that's keeping cold, because on the day off, I'm pretty sure you have something nice and tasty lined up for later. And I really do appreciate you always supporting us as you do. Big up, Welsh Gal. Good to see you in the house. Daniel Sandoval, one love. Good to see you, Daniel. Ribsy's in the house too. We'll be speaking to him later. Greeny's in here too, saying afternoon all. Dyer just seems to have an inability to engage the attacker. He stayed the same distance from Rashford from the moment he got the ball until he took the shot. That's really well described there, Greeny. Just showed him the whole way down. Never even seemed to make any sort of attempt at trying to either push him maybe further to the outside. Just pretty much just showed him into his house, showed him into the kitchen, and let him just do whatever he wants, really, Greeny. And felt like, too, Eric Dyer is just showing kind of more patterns than he is, making any sort of, kind of I don't know. He's proving kind of to be repeating sort of the same type of mistakes that we've seen from him this season. I think the way he defended that goal was way too similar to his absolutely atrocious performance against the likes of Leicester City, because against Leicester City, he was easily the worst player, I think, on the pitch that day, if I can recall. And so I thought it was kind of similar the way he defended in that goal. Carl Higgins, the absolute legend. Big up to you all, lovely people. Levy out. Big yourself up, Carl. Thank you for always tuning in, my man. Really do appreciate you. Amy's in the house too. Good to see you, Amy. Do appreciate DJ Samuel, the one and only. Big yourself up, my man. Mark P's in the house as well. Afternoon, Jack, and everyone. Big yourself up. Justin's in here too. Good to see Paro Miguel Escobardo. Diabolical out. Big yourself up, Paro. Good man. Good to see Gene D in here. Dazed and confused, Dyer. Very much so. Also, as well, Colin Turner's in here. Good to see you, Colin. Really do appreciate it, my man. We also have the likes of the other Colin, Colin Turner saying, sorry, disagree. Yes, an improvement in the second half, but they were still knocking the ball around at a snail's pace. We are far too content to sit in the back foot and defend far too much. I have a question lined up for that later with the likes of Mia. Colin, what type of game was this? Was this where Spurs actually should have been well and out of it, in the first half? Could they have maybe been pretty much 3-0 down, 4-0 down by the end of the first half, or was maybe 2-2 a fair reflection actually on the game? Let me know what your thoughts are, because it felt like in the second half we were by far the better team when it came to creating chances. But when it comes to our defense, like, we are just so leaky, and we pretty much do just sort of play a waiting game or a bit of kind of a gambling game when it comes to that defense. I think even like Michael once said, it's like Russian roulette, with that defense. You're just kind of waiting for one of the bullets to eventually come and sort of be that goal that we eventually just ruins all the momentum. And it's sort of every single game, I think, is going to be up to the attack to sort of outscore and probably get the goals sooner than the defense concedes. But at this rate, the defense is conceding 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes into any game in the first half. So looks like the attack is going to have to get themselves together sooner rather than later in each and every game, because I don't think the defense is really going to improve all that much. He might make some tweaks to it, Colin, but I don't think it's on Mason anymore. The fact that we continue to concede in the way that we do, and also maybe too with Romero having a much better game than he did last time, and we still conceded in the way that we did, just shows that it's just personnel. It's not tactics. You could put 9 players back there, in my belief, and nothing would change. Welsh Gallus is saying Dyer not even good enough for the Albanian farmers on a Thursday night. That's why I wouldn't even have him around the bench. I just don't think he's good enough for the bench either. Welsh Gal. He's also been the one who's been responsible, or at least a part of the majority of those sort of Colchester, Middlesbrough, the likes of Genk and Ghent and all the Belgian teams we've lost to, like all those teams in the Europa Conference League, Europa League that we've lost to. Dyer has always been a very consistent sort of player in those 11. So I'm with you there, Welsh guy. I'm with you there. Big up, John N. Good to see you, John N. Andy Williams is in the house. The other Mark of the Mark are me. Big yourself up, Mark. Welsh gal saying, yes, I indeed do. Some lovely local Welsh brews in the fridge. Good to see that. That's good to see. Tottenham LSG, I don't understand Levy's unwillingness to let Dyer's contract run down. He terminated Aurier's contract and he cost more on the balance books. I don't even know if Eric Dyer is even on that extraordinary of wages. He's probably on bigger wages than he should be, but I don't even know if his wages are even that extreme. I think it's just the likes of, maybe, like I said, I did my research just recently. I think it's a lady named Rachel Capelhorn or whatever her name is actually in charge of the player contracts. And then Daniel Levy supposedly kind of steps in sort of in the final moment to sort of kind of seal the deal. But if anything, it's sort of Daniel Levy and her, it seems like, that are pushing for these contract renewals with Eric Dyer. And also, I'm with you. If there are really no buyers, if there's no one really interested in taking him off our hands, might as well just kind of do the same thing that we did with Aurier. Completely agree there. And also it frees up a good spot, that he's been taking up, I believe, because I don't even know if Eric Dyer is taking up a homegrown spot of any kind. I believe he's taking up one of sort of the non-homegrown spots, which is pretty valuable. Like, where you can basically bring in anybody, right? You can bring in a guy from the Bundesliga, from the, from La Liga or anywhere. Like, that's a valuable spot in the squad that he's taking up, if I'm not mistaken. Sugar Pebble saying, Jack, you don't think it's the club's problem too? They make these stupid players committee where 3 out of 4 of the players are ones who we want to get rid of the most. It gives them this sort of power. I completely agree. Sugar Pebbles, believe me, my man. We're going to talk about that player committee, but we're also going to talk about the fact that Daniel Levy held a meeting with that player committee, and some of these guys that he's holding this meeting with, making sort of like decisions about the rest of the season and the future with. I mean, half these guys I want gone that are in that player committee, Sugar Pebbles. So it just really is concerning to see the fact that they have this sort of power, and makes you think it's not going to be so easy to be able to get rid of them this summer if they have that type of power in the club. I think you're spot on, my man. I think you're spot on. But really do appreciate you tuning in as always. But we're going to bring on the first guest of the evening here. Everybody do send in your comments still. I'm going to bring them up on screen. Feel free to hit that like button as well. Send in a member super chat. I'm going to keep an eye on those. If you ever have those kind of lined up or saved up, please use those. And if you do at any stage want to stop the conversation between me and the guest, or want to bring something up that you feel like hasn't been brought up yet, feel free to throw it in as a super chat. It's a great way to support the channel. But I'm going to shut up now and bring in first guest of this afternoon, Mia.
Hello.
Good to see you again. How are we?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Well, do you want to talk about the Man United game?
Yeah, we can talk about the Man United game. Like, why not? Was 2-2 a fair result? Should Spurs have been well out of it in the first half? How do you explain the better performance in the second half? That's a very good questions there, Jack.
Thank you.
What
do you make of it? What do you make of the first half versus second half is kind of what
I think in the first half, they definitely had control and it was theirs to lose because although we had a couple of chances, slight opportunities, it was nothing really. They looked dangerous every time they got the ball, man. Like every time they did look dangerous. So I do think that they could have like basically blown it out of the water and we could have been no way back, kind of in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, we could have easily been well out of it in that first half, but it's like they came out and backed off, but we came out and we came onto them a bit more. So I do think a 2-2 is probably quite fair, although at the end I was a bit edgy because it looked like they were pushing to win it where we were pushing for the draw. And I do understand it because I think that Mason didn't want a loss because that would have been really bad for the morale of the team. I think I can understand he didn't want a loss for this game. He's just come back as, being the interim manager.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he was trying to play it a little bit safe, but I kind of understand it. But it did look like Man U were pushing and we were a bit lucky, I've got to admit at that end, I was a bit like holding my breath until that whistle went. I was like, oh, just let it go now. Like, come on, hurry up. Because it did look like that. So I think he did play it a little bit safe, but I do think a 2-2 is fair. I spoke to a friend of mine who's a Man U supporter and they agree that 2-2 was fair because it was a game of two halves, as they say.
Because they probably were very nervous at the end of the second half that Spurs were going to grab maybe another. So they probably at that stage shake hands. Yeah, we'll take 2-2. Kind of like a chess match.
I think,
take a draw and just, sort of get out of there.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that he like we made changes that were more defensive minded, but I do think that he was, like I say, thinking, yep, we come back from 2 down. That's, for us, that's not awful. They were 2 ahead, so it's worse for them. So I think that it was probably a fair result in my opinion.
I find it that Spurs probably were gonna, I don't know if it feels like the defense is just gonna concede at any stage. Like they're capable of any type of, like it could just be a wind of an attack, like a breeze, like they could have a no sniff of the ball for 20 minutes and we could still concede right under any bit of pressure. And so if anything, Ryan Mason probably saw it as, if I try to keep putting on attacking players, the likelihood of me conceding increases. And we already are conceding at a very, common rate. So he probably just felt like if I put on Tanganga, it lessens my chance of conceding because he just knows that it was sort of a waiting game. It felt like for us. If I remember too, we were even saying like with Sean, it's like, this is obviously not going to finish 2-1. Like this is going to finish 2-2, 3-2, 3-1, 4-1. Like there was no way that both defenses were going to keep any goals out. Like somebody was going to concede, somebody was going to take the momentum. And he got that second goal, but maybe he just felt like he didn't have faith that they would be able to keep attacking while also keeping goals out of their net.
Yeah, and that is understandable. Like I do kind of see where he's coming from. And I know like people are going to say, well, to dare is to do. And we should have maybe pushed on, but I do think for the morale of the actual team at the moment, I think that actually that's a good-ish, like it's not a great result, but it's an okay result. It's good to go into Anfield having not lost again, because if we would have lost, that would have been even worse and it could spiral out of control, that snowball effect. So we don't want that. So,
Do you think Ryan Mason made changes in the second half? I heard that maybe Harry Kane alluded to some sort of tactical tweaks that he had brought in to sort of lessen. I think the wording he used was that so that the midfield wasn't having as much enjoyment, the Man United midfield. Um, but how would you explain the fact that Spurs were such a better team in the second half? Because I mean, the crowd, I think, actually did a pretty decent job in sort of keeping the balance of, right, keeping their attention on the ownership, but also it didn't seem like there was really any booing or any too toxic of an atmosphere towards the players. But why do you think it is maybe that they were such a different team in the second half? Was Eric Ten Hag, like Colin Turner said, maybe Eric Ten Hag made a few mistakes tactically?
I think that he made a mistake bringing Fred on. I think that actually once Christian Eriksen went off, they lost that presence in the midfield who can create, because we know that what Eriksen brings, we all know what Eriksen brings. So I think actually he did make a bit of a mistake taking him off, and Fred was awful, absolutely awful. He just kept giving the ball away. So I think, it didn't help that he came on and was a bit of a disaster, and Eriksen is such a good player. But I do think we came out and we seemed just more hungry for it, Jack. We just seemed like we wanted to run, we wanted to press, and then when we got the ball, we were trying to move it a little bit quicker, like a bit slicker. Like it just looked like we were moving that ball a little bit quicker, getting into their box a bit better. It just, everything was just improved. I don't know if Mason had a little bit of a tweak, had a chat with them and said, you need to up the intensity, because they've got this and they've set the intensity and you're just backing off and you're not pressing them. You're not, you're not giving that energy. So you're going to let them walk all over you. So I think he's explained that probably to them as well. And they just came out and looked much more energetic, a lot more energetic.
We also saw some substitutions, which are nice to see, which turns out make a huge impact on games as well. And Dan Juma, the likes of, I think Kulusevski made an interesting impact on the game. It felt like also as well, Ryan Mason had made not only maybe some tweaks tactically at halftime, but he was eager and probably had a plan on certain substitutions in mind as well, which has been something we've been crying out for this whole season.
Yeah, and I think actually Kulu, it did him good sitting on the bench. I think he did well when he come off the bench. I think having that opportunity to sit on the bench and have someone else playing your position maybe gave him that bit more drive, because I do feel when he came on that he was better. I actually do. I think Richie was quite poor in that he couldn't. He got into the positions, but he just wasn't doing it, But with Kulu, he came on and I think he did make a bit of a difference. And Dan Juma, both of them were actually really good. I thought when they come on, and they did make that bit more like energy, bring a bit more energy to it. And I'm glad that he made those changes early, because that's one of the things that bugged me with Conte, is not making those changes early enough. And then Stellini carried that on. So, I don't think you should be afraid to make those changes. Absolutely not.
I asked you previously, Mia, before the game happened, that Romero was kind of needed a good performance after what we saw was the opposite version of himself against Newcastle. Do you feel like that was a lot better? That was a much better version of himself? Plenty of people gave him man of the match, even if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was lots better, a lot better than what he was for Newcastle. He definitely was everywhere again. He was getting his old, back to a bit more of himself, putting in the tackles, being that bit more feisty. And then he did a nice message for everybody after the match, which I've watched probably about 5 times now. He was speaking in Spanish, and I just love it. I just love watching him. Not gonna lie.
There was a block attempt he made too that was absolutely spectacular. The one where Perisic saved it off the line. He made the initial block, and then he sort of flung himself as if he was a goalkeeper, but then he had his arms behind his back too, which was it's like a salmon, trying to jump out the river. Really, it was glorious to watch.
Yep. It was much, he was, like I say, he was more back to his old self. He definitely was back to his old self a little bit more. I'd said at the time yesterday, didn't I? I said at the end of the day, he's young, and I think he's still got that, he hasn't hit his ceiling yet, where, we know that Moon Boots, he hasn't got a ceiling. He just flies up in the sky and floats around like an absolute
Just wherever
wombat.
his moon head takes him. Yeah, wherever
Yeah.
wherever his airhead goes is exactly right. Colin
So
Turner saying,
that
sorry, yeah,
second
go ahead.
goal was ridiculous. Oh, he just where he wasn't marking his man. The ball just come over the top, and he just allowed him. He gave him so much space, so much time. What was you doing?
Where was
Oh,
Greeny's comment? Greeny's comment from earlier I thought was spot on in the way he described it. He said, afternoon all, Dyer just seems to have an inability to engage the attacker. He stayed the same distance from Rashford from the moment he got the ball until the moment he took the shot. I think that's a really good description
yeah,
of that.
no, it's true. It's just, yeah, he's just got no idea. He doesn't understand that word defender, because the fact is that he's supposed to be a defender and he doesn't understand the word, which is really troubling when you've got someone in your defense who doesn't understand how to defend. Honestly.
Also, when I think because he used to be a midfielder, I often see plenty of times Eric Dyer, he'll let kind of a ball go over his head that he easily could have cleared, or he'll let, a pass go across the 6-yard box that easily he could have cleared, because he maybe has this sort of midfielder's mentality that there's often someone else behind him, right, that can take care of it, and he leaves it often for someone else. And I just like, it's like you're the center back, you're the last man.
He's been doing this for long enough. Surely he now knows that he doesn't have to be told every time he goes out, you are the centre back, so you are the last man. Does he have to be told every time? Do I have to write it in 10 different languages? Say it to him in 10 different languages as well? Honestly, does it not get through to his head?
I think it is one of the unnoticed parts of his game. That is the fact that there are plenty of times I feel like I see him just watch a ball go kind of right in front of his eyes, like that he easily could have just stuck a foot out, or easily could have just done like Romero. Romero, like we said, just threw himself to the floor like a like a fish. He could have at least done that, to get in the way. He doesn't make any sort of attempt, and in my belief, it's because he just thinks there isn't any danger behind him. I think he really is that sort of clueless at the time, that he often just doesn't think there is somebody maybe making a run beyond the back post, or someone that is sort of sneaking a run in behind him. He's the last. He's also the opposite of what would you call like no nonsense defender. I would never call Eric Dyer a no nonsense defender.
Call him a nonsense defender, because it is just a bunch of nonsense, isn't it? Exactly. He's not a defender.
Well, let's talk about, since we're talking about defenders, Mia, we have a huge summer squad overhaul. It was Tottenham LSG's comment from earlier saying, what I'm looking forward to most is like a big summer cleanup, he said. Kind of brought up all the center backs here on the list for you. I mean, any of these that you see worth keeping, maybe bar Romero, the obvious?
I would probably... People aren't probably going to like this and not agree, but listen, if you don't agree with me, you don't have to come off the stream. We can have different opinions, people. Let's all be grown up about it.
Well said.
I would probably say Davies, because I think he can play more in more positions. So I think as a backup, he's probably somebody that I would keep just in case, because I do feel he's more of a utility backup player. And if we got rid of all the rest of them, then I think that we have to have that, in my opinion, because we'd have to get a couple more in and then just keep Davies, Romero, and that's it.
Would you consider keeping Longley, like getting him on a permanent?
Yeah, again,
when I hear 14 million, that sounds a little much. But if it was something like around anything that isn't double, I just don't want it to be like 10 million, 11 million. I feel like if I heard 8, 7 million, I'd be like, you know what? He's proven he's been better than Dyer. He's proven he's better than Sanchez. He's proven he's better than pretty much the rest of them, bar Romero. Maybe he's not perfect, but if anybody I would bring off the bench against Slovenian Farmers, I think I'd rather do it with Longley than I would with Eric Dyer or any of these guys.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. And Colin Turner makes a good point, is that they're lucky that Lindelof stayed on the pitch. We forgot about that. That was definitely very, very lucky that they didn't go down a man, if I'm honest.
I feel like I must have missed that challenge, because I'm seeing back, all the images and whatnot of it. I must have missed it during my stream, crashing or something like that. Because it seemed like a crucial point of the game.
He literally grabbed hold of him and brought him down. They said, even on the commentary, they said that would have been a second yellow if he hadn't have been booked before, which I think is terrible when they do that. Absolutely terrible. But I think I'll take your point on Longley as a backup, and probably Ben Davies, and then get another 2, because I think that's fair enough to have, depending obviously how we play as well. That's the other thing, depending on what formation we play, we might need more. But I think probably Longley is slightly better than the others.
I've likened it, Mia, to, where you're getting chased by the bear and you just have to outrun basically everybody else. And I think Romero, we know, is probably the fastest. He's going to outrun the bear. And Dyer, Sanchez, Tanganga, Roadhunter are the ones that I'd like to see maybe get caught. Whereas I think you could see the likes of a Davies, survive. You could see the likes of the Longley maybe survive. At least that's how I hope it is. I hope that if any of them were to survive, bar Romero, it's Davies or Longley. Those were the ones I tolerate. The rest
I
of them
would just like to adjust what you said. Romero wouldn't run from the bear. He'd probably get the bear and wrestle the bear. He would be 2 foot the bear. He'd 2 foot the bear and like knock it over.
What was even funnier about Romero, actually, quickly too, was when he tried to do the head-to-head with Wout Weghorst, but since Wout Weghorst is 6'8" tall, like it's a little, he needed like a step stool in order to do it. So,
and did you see
just like
when
dug his head like into like a shoulder blade or like?
Yeah, I saw as well when he was having an argument with him, and he went over to him, and I just thought, oh my god, he's so tall, and then like Romero's like slightly looking up at him to argue with him.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And Romero's not, I think he's 6'1", 6 foot too. So it was like anybody, it doesn't matter what size they are. It seems like Romero, they looked like he was going to chew his way like through Wout Weghorst, basically. It was funny. Well, Welsh Gal member for 14 months, fan show member, big up lads, support Dave and Jack, 10,000 subs. Let's do this. Thank you, Welsh Gal. And like I said, hopefully you have some good Welsh brews in the fridge this evening. Hopefully you've been enjoying the chat so far with me and Mia, and appreciate your support. And thanks for reminding everybody. We're not so good at, reminding people that we're pushing on for 10K, but we're very, very close here, everybody. And when we get there, we get there. But if you have been thinking about it for some time on that subscribe button, maybe hit it, think about it. Hit it now.
Definitely
please.
hit it. 100% hit it.
Appreciate you, Welsh Gal. Absolute legend. 14 months of service as well. I know you've been around a lot longer than that, but thank you very much, Welsh Gal, as well. And fan show member, feel free to come on, Welsh Gal. It's a bit of a longer queue than, maybe I expected, which is really nice, actually. And I love it. Good to see so many good faces here. But if you do want to maybe be a closer, maybe finish off the show at some stage, feel free. But we do want to see you back on here. And I keep missing any time that you come on, Welsh Gal. So definitely need to get back on with you. But really do appreciate your support through this time. Mia, I have just 2 more questions I do want to get to you, though, on. Harry Kane was taunted by the Man United fans. I think they were singing, "We'll see you in June." Will he force a move this summer? And also, would Levy even let him?
Right, we're going to talk Harry Kane. So hopefully David's not going to be. He isn't going to be tuning into this one or watching it back at any point. No, he knows my feelings on Kane anyway, so it's fine. I'm not worried. I think that. I don't know if he'll force the move, because I just don't see Harry Kane as a forceful kind of guy. Mm-hmm. He just doesn't come across like that. Like, he just doesn't have that personality for me. So I don't think that he'll force it. However, I think if he doesn't sign it, he'll give a decision to Daniel Levy, basically. He'll say, I'm not going to sign, and then Levy will have to have that decision in his hands. And Kane knows if the decision is in Levy's hand, he will end up going on a free. Yeah. And I think that then any of the pressure will then be off of Kane, because Kane will say, well, I didn't sign, but he didn't sell me, So it kind of takes it out of Kane's hands in a way. And I suppose that Kane probably wouldn't not mind that. I don't think he would mind that. I think that if he doesn't sign, then he can stay for a year and then he can go wherever he wants. So
what do you think of some people are saying, since he forced the move under Nuno, what stops him from doing it again in some way?
I suppose
maybe he learned his lesson, or did he learn his lesson? Or I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think he forced it, though. I think he went on and sort of went and had that conversation with Gary Neville. And I think his agent, that's his brother, was the one more pushing it. I'm going to be honest. I feel like his brother's a bit more pushy than what he is. So I think that that's probably where it came from, because I just don't see Kane being that forceful person. I think he's probably a bit more laid back in that sense. So I think that, he would have gone to Man City. Don't get it twisted. He would have 100% gone. For anyone who says that he's that loyal, he would have gone. He 100% would have gone. But obviously he didn't get that opportunity because they didn't give us enough money. But now he's got a little bit more control, because he can say, well, after a year, cool, I'll just go for free. That's it. I can go. I will walk away.
I think it'd be nice to get some sort of clarity on his behalf, but I don't even know we can ask that much of like Harry Kane, because it's also the case that things change like so quickly, like as well. Like he might be going into the summer having no intention whatsoever of re-signing, and I wouldn't blame him for that. And then let's say he does continue into the season with basically a looming sort of, exit on a free contract, in the next summer. Perhaps all of a sudden Spurs have a spectacular season, or maybe pushing maybe further than he expected. And then the manager as well is, getting him, in the right sort of system, and he's getting the best out of him. All of a sudden he might be feeling like I could stick around a bit longer, right? And that's where I think things change quickly as well at Spurs. And it's not saying things are going to change quickly for the better. They could change quickly even to get worse, but it's also the case that, someone's mind on something could be changed. At least in my belief.
So.
I think he could have his mind
Yeah.
changed, I think, because you never know with how the next season might go. And also, I do feel like his loyalty to Spurs is quite strong, actually. It's probably to his own detriment, if anything, his loyalty to Spurs, where he is happy to, I think, if he sees a project, if he sees some sort of future, he might be more happy to give Spurs the benefit of the doubt, give Spurs the chance, than he would just sell out to the likes of a Man United or something. But I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, no, I think, like I say, I don't know how loyal he is though, Jack, because he would have gone, because he did go and give that interview to Gary Neville, basically trying to sort of wiggle his way out a little bit. So I don't think any player's got any loyalty anymore. I don't think it is like that. I think he has been loyal to us, don't get me wrong, but like you say, things can change, and your opinion can change, and your mind can change.
That's what I'm trying to say.
So although he can have that loyalty can wither away, because it can be a bit like, how much longer am I going to keep being loyal to somebody who basically just poops on me? That's
spot on. I think both are so true. Like your loyalty can be tested even further, and then it will wane, or your loyalty could all of a sudden come back again because you see maybe something to potentially get behind, right? Like it goes both ways.
It.
You're so
no, that's right. So I
Ribsy,
do think
the big part missing, was maybe, unless Nuno were to come back, that definitely was probably part of the trigger too for Harry Kane and his agent. Definitely, that's definitely the elephant in the room, the Nuno in the room. Last question here though, Mia. Nagelsmann seems to be leading the race by the looks of things. There's this bit of a hold up when it comes to the compensation, I believe, from his sort of gardening leave at Bayern Munich. I'm also being told that that's not exactly as big of like a holdup as people think. It's just the fact that it is a lot of money and they're just trying to negotiate, I think, just the financial ends of that. Like, it's not like it's going to be the reason why they don't hire him. It seems like, I think it was a bit exaggerated. But Nagelsmann seems to be leading the race. Are you happy with that? Or do you kind of just, feel like it's still not going to happen for some time? Do you feel like we're still going to be waiting a few weeks before we get?
I think that we're going to be waiting, but I do feel like that he is somebody, if he gets, because what Sky were reporting was that Ragnick was saying about him to come, and about DOF position, and he does DOF. So
that's right.
Obviously, that's a bit of a funny thing for him to say, and kind of say, well, and he kind of needs a DOF as well. So, and them as a combination would be, I think, really
not
good.
Very subtle from Mr. Ralph.
No, it wasn't. I think though they worked together before, and I think it would be a good combination. I would be happy with that. I honestly would be happy if that was the case. Absolutely, I would.
Manager race is more like a tortoise race at the moment. Yeah, Adam, like, it's where it feels like it's a bit silly sometimes to even bring up, Nagelsmann leading the race, because how far along are we on it? Is it still going to be a few more weeks until like we really get we've
seen, Jack, how long it takes, because how long has it been saying about Poch going to Chelsea? Nothing's still been announced. So I think it does take time.
I don't want to get too far ahead on it. That's why I'm just kind of like leading the race question mark. Like, it seems like he's the top candidate. That's what I think we can seem to gather. He seems to be the preferred candidate, but have we made any real inroads? Unlikely, I think.
I think we might have spoken to him, but I think again, it's like there's a lot of different aspects to it. And I hope that whoever we get, we just have to get behind them, Jack, innit? Like, that's all we can do. Yeah. It doesn't matter who it is. We're going to have to get behind them. Whether you enjoy their skinny jeans and their oatmeal lattes, then,
That's what. Hopefully, maybe I've seen the Spurs Cafe inside the stadium. Hopefully, they're ready for the incoming orders of the soy milk lattes and the chai lattes. Hopefully, they're ready. Hopefully, they're stocked up.
No, give me a latte with hazelnut syrup any day. Normal full fat milk, cream.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll go big when I do my
complicated
coffees.
order there, Mia. Complicated order. Are you gonna make the barista work?
Oh yeah, they've got to work, you know. Why not? Give them something to do, otherwise they just get bored.
I'm a drip coffee guy, so I just watch them put the cup over over the dispenser, and then they just flip a little whatever it is the spout.
I like my coffee, so I have to have a good. If I'm going to buy a coffee and pay all that money for it, I might as well have the full works.
No, I like it watery and gross. That's my style. But Mia, as long as you have to, or I was going to say, there's not really going to be any coffee chat, I imagine, on your channel, but it's going to be more Spurs. But tell us about your channel, and also, was there something I didn't get to let you say also as well?
I don't think so. Yeah, the channel, I've done a review myself of the game, so if you want to hear what else I had to say about the game, then you can go over, watch it, and give it a comment. I also did a bit about the protest and my thoughts on it. I'll quickly say about that, Jack, is that I support everybody who is doing the protest, everyone who wants to say Levy out during the matches. But I did like the fact that everybody got behind the boys, actually, when it was the game a lot, which I really do like. I think it's good that they did that. But yeah, I support everybody who wants to do that. Personally, me, I don't go to games. I don't give money. I don't buy stuff. So that's sort of my way, that I don't really give much back to the club apart from watching them on the TV. I suppose they do get the money from the Sky deals, but that I share that with my brother. So I don't actually pay for that one. But yeah, obviously, I think everybody needs to have their voice heard. Whatever way you want to get your voices heard, I think do it. If it means emailing them every single day, do it. Because if you can't get to the protest, because I live quite far as well, then absolutely email them every day. If that's what you feel like that will get your voice heard. Just make sure that our voices are all heard and that they understand that why we're so dissatisfied with what is currently going on at the club.
Spot on there, Mia. And I agree with you. I thought there was a very good balance that was struck, where even when the goal was conceded, I don't believe, at least from what I heard, I don't believe there was booing the players. I actually believe they were drawing their attention immediately to Levy after the goal was conceded too. So we even brought up that question, like, will the players be a bit distracted? And with everything that's going on, I don't think the players should have any excuse whatsoever, but I think the fans did a great job. I think about it. Absolutely right. And so they struck a good balance about it, and I think that's that's all you can ask for.
And what I also will say is that it's going to be a long, hard road to get anyone to sell up on the club. We know this happened with Newcastle. It took and even the Glazers. But what I will say is make it as uncomfortable as possible for them for as long as it takes to get them out. But I want to get someone in who's going to do what's right by Tottenham. So I hope that anyone else who comes in is going to do what's right. I don't want someone coming in taking dividends or messing the club up or doing some financial doping and we get into trouble in years to come. I don't want none of that nonsense. I want someone who comes in who's going to care about Tottenham. That is what I care about, and that's what we all care about, is the best for Tottenham.
Spot on there, Mia. Spot on. And you said that's also your thoughts on the protest and everything. That's what's coming up on the channel as well.
I already did a video this today. Nice. I've been busy girl this morning. I've actually recorded the review and edited it, put it out, and I did another video.
High octane efficiency. I like it.
There we go.
Nice. Alrighty. Well, Mia, thanks for getting me started. Thanks for opening as always.
No problem.
And great chat. Thank you.
Brilliant. Right, take care. Bye.
Everybody, big up Mia. Please go show her channel some support, please. And if I'm not mistaken, she's pushing for 400. She might already be past the 400, but if she's not there yet, everybody, let's get her over there to the mighty 400, please. Show her some support. The link is in there a second time. No excuses. Let's bring on the second guest here of this afternoon, Mr. Ribsy, making a return 2 times in a row. I'm jealous, or I'm lucky. What's up, Ribsy? Oh, it might be on mute. Might be on mute.
That's me. Sorry, I muted myself earlier.
There you
That's
go.
me.
Good
What's
man.
up, man?
Chatting, about a very confusing result, because I even said in the pre-match build-up, if Spurs, someone said like, oh, I think we're gonna draw this 3-3. I said I'm left just as confused, if it's a 3-3, and a 2-2 feels still just as confusing, because Mia said so, Ripsy, that we could have been destroyed in that first half. The game could have been well and over, but then in the second half, Man United fans supposedly would have taken the draw. So, it's a weird one.
Yeah, they're not super confident, are they? But I would say that, if you ask most Spurs fans whether they would have taken the draw there after that awful result in Newcastle, I think most of us would have taken the draw there as well. So, do I think maybe we could have stolen that game in that second half? Yeah, I think it was there to win. That said, it was probably there to lose too. I mean, that one that rattled the crossbar after our second goal.
Yes,
I think.
Yeah, from Bruno. Bruno.
They should have scored there, right? So, and then it would have been 3-2, and then so we got lucky. They got lucky. It's just one of those ones, man. 2-2.
Well, do you feel like then Brian Mason did the right thing inevitably by bringing on a Tanganga, or could he have rolled the dice, high roller? That's what I feel like. It would have been a very high roller move for him to have brought on another forward of some kind. Because
he did first, right? Because he took Porro off and put Danjuma on, so he went extra forward first, and then he brought the extra defender on, and that was
probably because he felt like it was already too late to get. Maybe he felt like it was too late by then to get a third, or that Man United were more likely to get a spoiler than that we were to get it. It felt like we said, Ribsy, I said this to Mia, that even if we had more of the momentum, even when we have had momentum in games, how often have we seen the defense concede when we've had all the momentum? So I think that's what also was in Mason's head, was like, I need to realize like this team, it could just be one cross that looks like it should be easily dealt with, doesn't get dealt with, and all of a sudden Man United score, and that's where he probably was in his head, I think.
Yeah, it's oh, you're absolutely right, Jack. I mean, it's we're famous, since I guess from like the sort of the Jose era onwards, for just sitting back, defending that lead, and then conceding at the worst possible time, so that you can't actually come back and make a difference. So, it's actually in a way a little refreshing to see us actually intentionally batten down the hatches a little bit and it actually work, as opposed to us not intending to do that, but doing that against the sort of the intentions of the manager, and then it backfiring. So us actually,
I also applaud his decision of a 5-4-1. I appreciate that decision that he made too. That I feel like he's a guy that probably wants to play 4 in the back. He probably wants to play 4-2-3-1. But again, he seems to know the limitations of the squad. He doesn't seem to be completely blind to it all, like previous managers might have, or if anything, also just even our own fan base sometimes is a bit blind to. Like, we aren't capable of maybe playing 4-2-3-1 against Man United and facing them toe to toe. We are
at home.
That shit. That we need to play 9 men behind the ball, pretty much. Like, that's how we have to play.
Well, and I mean, here's the thing, right? And just sort of continuing to say what I was saying before, but in slightly different words. If we're intending to do that, I don't mind. Like, if that's the plan and we stick to it and it gets us a result and it gets us a point, mate, I'm on board. Like, I'm not that picky. But when the guys are out there and the manager's going, get up the field and score more goals, and they're just pissing about, I mean, it's embarrassing, man. Like what the hell? Like, it's that's tough to watch. So if the intention is to actually lock things up and grind out the result with the draw, then fine. Like, you got the plan, you executed it, and we got the result you were looking for. So, hooray! I'm happy. I can't ask for much more at the moment.
No, you can't. And to be fair, I didn't even expect the reaction that they had in the second half either. Like, I kind of did expect them to cower away. I was expecting it to get uglier in some manner or form. I wasn't expecting it to get to 6-1, but I was expecting it to like a 4-0 or a 3-0 or like in some manner. Did not expect that type of reaction from the players either.
So Mason, like, the intensity of the press went up in the second half, and we started, for whatever, like, I'm assuming to drag the markers out of position, they started throwing center halves, like Romero and Dyer got way up forward, and Harry went back, and he dragged markers back with him, because I'm assuming they were just following him all over the park. So what we did is just put a little bit more intensity into the press and drag those markers out of position, because they were just following what they were told to do, which is, follow Harry around the park. And they crumbled, man. And they crumbled because we changed it up just enough to make it a little bit more difficult.
Did Ten Hag sabotage himself a little bit? Somebody, I think Mia was saying the Fred substitution maybe wasn't exactly. And I've heard Man United fans complain about this before, where Ten Hag is like, he makes substitutions, but they say he makes like the wrong substitutions. They always say, where he was the opposite of Conte. Conte never made substitutions, but Ten Hag always makes the wrong ones. It's that funny balance.
Absolutely. But I mean, you can sit back and say, after you've seen what's happened, hey, you made the wrong decision. But I mean, it's a very limited use, right? Because if it had worked, they'll be saying, you should have brought him on earlier or something. They're no different to us. As much as people are like, oh, these top four clubs and the difference between the big four and the big six or whatever, like whatever that is, it's just, man, I saw them all on there on Twitter whinging about their depth of their team, which is like, fair enough.
I mean, they have a lot of injuries.
You get to whinge about your own team. That's the thing, right? Like we get to do that too. So we
probably absolutely benefited from their injuries too. Varane being out, if I'm not mistaken. I think Lisandro Martinez is a huge player for them. Obviously, he was out in this game, and they didn't clearly have confidence in Harry Maguire against Spurs. So they went for a back, four of whatever it was, Luke Shaw, moving Luke Shaw back into in a center back. Looked like Malacia was kind of struggling a little bit too, and it was interesting. It felt like we were playing definitely a weakened Man United, so it's also like we can't give ourselves too much credit because we only showed up in one of the halves anyway.
We're weakened too. I mean,
I'd
like to have Basuma on the field. I'd like to have Emerson Royale on the field, to be perfectly honest. Even though Porro actually had a decent, I can't believe I'm saying that, right?
The story arc of Emerson.
I was probably like earlier this season, I was like, I'm going to be fully honest and just say, like, there was some pointed comments from me about the performance. I think I was talking about, there's a quote from there's a crummy comedy lawn bowls film in it that's an Australian film, and they talk about how the guy, one of the characters, he bowls a lawn bowl and ends up in the KFC parking lot down the street instead of on the field where it's supposed to be, and that's pretty much where Emerson's crosses were ending up. Man, they weren't on the field; they were in the KFC parking lot. So, but that said, once he stopped trying to actually play like a wingback and started to play to his strengths as a player, he got some confidence, and I mean, we saw the results. He had some great games there right before he got injured. So yeah, I'm missing him, but.
It's funny that we find ourselves in that position where, against Man United, you're kind of saying, God, we'd really kill to have Emerson back in these games. And I'm with you there.
It's nuts.
Kieran O'Connell, guy who helps us out tremendously behind the scenes and stuff, says Mason said the team looked leggy, which is why we brought on Tanganga. I'd say it was to secure a point so that now we can use that to help gain momentum. Is there any momentum that has been gained from this, do you think, Ribsy? Are the players maybe a bit less anxious, bit less stressed out, perhaps, maybe being a bit more confident?
The backslide, right? I mean, True. It's you can't just keep losing. Yeah, exactly. And like, as much as you feel bad for players getting kicked around by fans and all that sort of thing, but that result in Newcastle, like, they were hurting themselves. They didn't even need feedback from us about that one, because that's unacceptable to lose by that much. The type of team we are, that we're supposed to be. So, getting that sort of result, out of a team that's supposed to be, a classically, it's a high performing team. I mean, you can't look at Manchester United's wage bill and the amount of money they spend on transfers and think anything different. So,
or the fact that they've been the third best team in the Premier League for the majority of this season, right?
Yeah,
I mean, just statistically, They have been the third best team, and as much as they've had their blips and their weird little performances here and there where they don't seem to be that team, they still, for the majority of this season, have been the third best team in the Premier League, regardless of, injuries and whatnot too. And I would say in that first half, they looked like one of the best teams in the Premier League in the way they played us in the first half.
Did you think they looked a little bit... Sorry, I'm going to turn this on you, Jack. I'm going to ask
you
a question.
Go ahead.
Did you think they looked a little bit like that kind of team that we were last season and under Jose before that, where they felt as though they'd won that game in the first half, and then they just run out of motivation for that second half, and they were.
If Colin Turner's still listening, he said it that they took their foot off the gas, and I can't say that they didn't. Like, I think in some way they might have, either through that Ten Hag substitutions of even taking off an Eriksson, like he's taking off somebody that's creative, putting on somebody that's a bit more hardworking, right? Maybe because he's thinking, yeah, we can see this game out now, right? Just put on a guy that's just going to make life difficult for them when they have the ball, somebody that's going to win the ball back for us high up the pitch. It's just that sort of hardworking player, but he maybe didn't realize that he's also taking off somebody that was causing Spurs a lot of problems, in possession. And we were finding it difficult to even put a foot on them, right, in midfield. But then the moment Fred comes into the game, the midfield battle was actually made a lot easier for Spurs. So
that's a good point.
Yeah. I don't know if Ten Hag deliberately thought that, like, all right, we've already won this. But I wouldn't doubt that maybe some of even the substitutions he even made were probably in mind, thinking that Spurs were not going to be showing up in the second half either. And like I said, I was surprised that any good version of ourselves even did show up in the second half. I did not see that coming. So he probably didn't even see it coming, if anything. So I don't know. I think we were very lucky, Ribsy, but at the same time, it still is the third or fourth best team in the Premier League. We've looked like a near relegation team of recent forms. So you take what you can get. I think we were lucky, but you take what you can get. And also as well, here's a better way to put it. I think we were better in this game than we were against Brighton, and we won that game. Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah,
I think
we should never have won that game.
We should never have won against Brighton, but I would say we probably deserved, if I were to argue if we deserved something, we definitely deserve something more out of this than we did against Brighton. So that's how I would compare it up, maybe.
It's difficult to marry up those performances that we had when Conte was recovering from surgery and Stellini was interim manager at that point. It's hard to marry up those performances from the players at that time with how they played for him when he was officially appointed as the interim manager. It's concerning to me how quickly their performances dropped, and I don't know how much of that is what Stellini was trying to get them to do, because I'll be perfectly honest, watching them run around out there, especially when we were playing four at the back, I had no idea what he was trying to get them to do, but clearly the message wasn't getting across. But now, I mean,
who's your man of the match, by the way, in that game?
In which one? Sorry?
Man United. Who was your man of the match for Man United? It's a difficult one. Is it even worth saying? Yeah, because it's only a draw.
No, it's the only reason why I'm pausing is because there was a few good performances there.
Romero was good. I actually was relieved to see Romero was completely opposite of the Newcastle game. That was
exactly. If you want to compare Romero's performance against Newcastle to his improvement against Manchester United, I think he's clearly the man of the match there. But I don't know whether him returning to the form that we expect out of him is really something to sort of celebrate. But yeah, sure. I mean, he's a good enough choice. I quite liked. No, that's probably fair. I'm just going to go with Romero because it's too much.
Pedro Porro, thoughts on him? Pedro Porro. He's a confusing one too, where I think again, I think also the first goal, Sancho's goal. I know it's a great goal by Sancho, but he makes it a little bit easier. The way he tucks inside, when he doesn't need to there, makes the pass all the more easier, makes the space Sancho has all the more easier. And then also the second goal that Dyer scored. That's not
Didn't
have anything to do with Porro. Sorry, the Dyer scored. The Dyer conceded. It's also atrocious.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he may as well have picked that ball up and thrown it in the net for us himself. I mean, it was horrific. That he was a traffic cone, is what he was. He's not a defender.
Do you agree with me? It was like the Iheanacho one all over again, where you're just watching him just let the guy just take it right into the house, and just it was fun. It's the same thing, just watching him.
He was literally a spectator. He was just watching football happen. He wasn't involved in the football. He was just watching it happen. And he's like, yeah, all right, just watch this guy dribble around me and have a shot on goal. Forster didn't cover himself in glory there either in that particular moment, but he was far better than Lloris was in the game prior. So I'm not gonna say anything mean about Forster. But Dyer, you're looking at it, and you got the attacker, and you got the one defender, and this is not happening within a couple of meters. This is a dribbling play that goes on for yards and yards and yards, and Dyer has all sorts of options available to him, including just rugby tackling the bloke outside the box and just getting a yellow card. Like, that's there. That's an option. I'm not suggesting that that's how you defend, but it was preferable to just
even the initial pass,
score
though,
the freaking goal, right?
I find even the initial positioning from him and Longley to be a bit odd as well, because Longley is responsible for that left side, but Dyer was tucked all the way, like standing right next to Longley. And so what made it even also easier for Rashford and Bruno was that if maybe Dyer had just put himself more in between, like if he put himself in between Rashford and Longley, where it wasn't like Rashford was just standing on the outside of him, it made that pass all the more easier, because Bruno had that huge open far side of the pitch to hit it into. Like, it was kind of like, it was a great pass, but he could have missed it by like 10, 15 yards, and Rashford still would have gotten there, still would have been able to take him one-on-one. So it was made a lot easier by the way that his initial positioning is all wrong, I think, too. In fact, he makes it all easier for him.
Yeah, there was, I mean... Look,
it's Moonhead, but the finish as well. I guess this is another thing where he could have made up for it, I guess, in some capacity by then scoring a goal, and he missed the chance there, which is just further.
Porro tucks that ball in. There's a very narrow bit of net there, and I mean, I've seen United fans complaining about Richarlison laying prone in the goal mouth there, which is okay, fair argument. I'd probably make it too if I was on the other side of things, but the guy, however you pronounce his name, is not even trying to defend that shot, because it's a 1 in a million fucking finish. Like, he pops the ball up with his left, and then he hits it with the outside of his right, and it's a dime. It goes straight. Like, no one's stopping that. Like,
both
you just
of his
watch
goals
it,
so far in his
brilliant.
first shirt have been great goals. Even his one, what was it, against away from home, that was a spectacular finish that he had. I forget which team. Southampton.
Yeah,
spectacular goal. I thought
I can picture it. Yeah. I can't remember exactly where it was, but I can picture it. But then in the first half, where we get our first attack in 15 minutes or something, and he's 35 yards out, and there's players onside in front of him, and he just goes, "No, I'm gonna have a crack from here," and he hits the worst shot I've ever seen any player hit, really, in a Spurs shirt.
Do you feel like he's just so pent up nervous or anxious, or is it just this is what comes with a player he clearly has a lot of ability going forward. Like, he clearly is good going forward.
He's a winger. He's not a wingback.
Yeah, he's proving not to be defensively. Yeah. I have confidence that he will one day be able to be defensively better.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, if Perisic can be a wingback, then Porro can be a wingback. Sure. I mean, like, Perisic learned to be a wingback when he was 30 or something. It's pretty impressive. So I think he can do it for sure, because the guy's got no lack of heart and courage and all the stuff you need to be a defender. I mean, I'm sure he can do it. He's not a wuss either. He's a fairly tough bloke. So and I think he's got all the grit you need. He just doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to block a ball. He doesn't know how to tackle a bloke. He doesn't know he can intercept is what he can do. So
it's also just the levels, though, right? When you're probably in the Primera Liga and you're only defending so often because you probably have the ball all the time and you're dominating possession. He's being asked probably more so to break down teams and to be that sort of extra creative force. Whereas now there's going to be a whole lot more asked of him defensively. And he's coming up against 80 million pound wingers, 80 million pound strikers. He's coming up against the best in the world. And even good defenders get made look silly in the Premier League. They can still be made to look silly by some of the best in the world. And I think Porro, not obviously being not defensively great, is going to be made to look silly at this sort of level. You just get exposed even further, it feels like. Whereas Emerson's the opposite. Emerson has proven to be good defensively, but then he's coming up against the best defenders in the world going forward, and then he struggles going forward because he's coming up against good defenders. It's just opposite cases, mirror images.
It's almost like they did it intentionally to get the guy that can attack and then the guy that can defend. And it's like, but I just don't trust them that they did that. I think they just got two guys, and one of them can do this, and the other one can.
Well,
do
I
that.
said on the pre-match build-up, I think we've thrown a small nation's GDP pretty much at the fullbacks. Like we've wasted like nearly
Not
$1
to
billion
mention, we've had two
on
of
wingbacks.
the best English freaking right backs in the last generation of players at our club, and we were just like, yeah, you know what? We're just gonna get some other dude.
Watch any Europa League game, guaranteed there's probably a former Spurs fullback, in that game. It feels like
it's madness.
They're all over the world. They're like Voldemort, like Horcruxes or something. All over the world are fullbacks. Like they're just scattered across. Daniel Levy had an interesting sort of meeting with the player committee, Ribsy. Maybe this is one of kind of my second to last questions I'll give you. And this is the article I took from The Guardian. The club is delighted to share details of, this is the wrong one, actually. Here, I'll bring it up in just a second. But while I'm kind of stalling here, I think I added the wrong one in here. But while I'm sort of stalling, what are your sort of, like, he met with, like, I think it was Lloris. He met with, like, Harry Kane. Here it is. Let me bring it up. It's taking a second. This will be worth it, everybody. Trust me, it's worth it. Here it is. The real reset had come Monday morning when Daniel Levy summoned the squad's senior players for a clear-the-air meeting. He had already decided to sack Salini and replace him with Mason. The talks with Kane, Hugo Lloris, Eric Dyer, Høiberg were an attempt to draw a line under the chaos. The chairman asked for a meeting, Kane said. It was important for him to understand where the players' heads were at. It wasn't just the Newcastle result. It had been building up since we conceded 2 goals against Southampton. It was an honest conversation of where everyone is at and we need to try to do and what we need to try to do to give us the best possible chance to finish the season with something. We're still fighting for 4th place, but it's not 4th. We'll try to finish 5th or 6th in this league. It's so competitive. You can easily end up 8th or 9th if you're not careful. That's what it was to give us the best chance. Daniel Levy players meeting. Thoughts on this, and also even the personnel involved: Høiberg, Dyer, Hugo. People would even argue 3 of these guys. I still have my faith in Høiberg, but he hasn't been doing me much service recently. But 3 of these guys, people probably would say don't even deserve to be here anymore.
Sure. So I'll give you my 2-pronged sort of answer to this, and then we can probably call it a night as far as I'm concerned for my time here.
Sure.
But okay, so we've got. First of all, and I'm not trying to be rude to the players here because a lot of them have given us a lot of service at Spurs, and I can't be too rough on them. But very few of us as people, whether not even as professional footballers, right, have the sort of ability to look at ourselves as from the outside and see ourselves as potentially the problem in situations. So I don't judge these guys too harshly, for their sort of position in what they've played in the issues, in the second half of this season here. But you can't ask the people who are potentially the problem for the situation, or at least a major part of the problem, and expect to get a genuine answer out of them that's not going to be some form of rationalization or deflection, right? Because that's just what we are as humans. That's not. I'm not saying that's them being, professional footballers who are paid too much, which they definitely are, by the way. But I wouldn't expect that out of anyone in any workplace scenario. So Levy being this guy who is obviously a sound businessman, whether you like what he's done at Spurs or not, and most of us don't like what he's done at Spurs, but I think we can all agree that the guy probably knows how to run a business, right? So that's fine. But he can't, if he had any other business scenario and he was having problems with a particular team and how they were performing, he wouldn't go then and get advice from those people who were fucking up and get their opinion on how, to fix the problem. That's we've got enough money, we've got enough resources at the club to go and get proper advice on what our problems are. And I don't think asking Eric Dyer why he can't stand in front of a football when it's kicked at him is going to give you a reasonable answer that's going to provide you with any sort of sensible solution going forward to fixing that problem. Because that problem, whether it's his fault or not, is in his lap. It's Eric Dyer's problem, and his performances as a footballer, going back to arguing over whether he's a centre half or a midfielder, all the way through to where we are today, where he's gone through patches of being a halfway decent, sidekick to Toby Alderweireld, to part of a back three that's had some ups and downs, and now he is clearly the weakest link in the three of them. He's become a worse footballer over the last season, at least, if not 3 seasons. So, asking him why that's happening, he's going to be defensive about that, because any of us would be, because
I think he's protecting his own interests. He's going to be protecting his own interests.
Of course. Now, when you talk about Høiberg, man, the reason why I've got so much respect for Høiberg is because I grew up in Southeast Queensland. I didn't play a whole lot of football. I played a little bit, but I played a lot of rugby. And Høiberg strikes me as a rugby player.
In a footballer's game, yeah.
He played, you get these players and they get a bit hurt, not injured, because obviously no one should play injured, but they get hurt and they stop playing. Høiberg, there's a reason why he's played the amount of minutes he has under Jose and Nuno and Conte.
He seems to have that push through, that barrier that he can push through.
He just goes, inject some shit into my ankle and I'll keep playing. And he just does, because he just knows that this is his value to the team. It's his endurance and his ability. And the thing is, I've noted before that after he has a really good game, he usually has a pretty bad game. That's because he's not injured, but he's hurting, and it's because when he has a good game, it's because he's basically killed himself on the pitch. So I think that you need a manager that, with Høiberg, who just goes, Pierre, mate, I respect what you do and you're a warrior and all that stuff, but you need to sit down and just take.
I just saw your ankle roll nearly in half. I'm taking you off the pitch.
You're half dead out there. Yeah, because there was that time, I think it was at West Ham, right, where he got crushed in the second half of the first half.
Yeah,
and then he came
hobbling
out
all over the place.
He was limping all over the place, and they clearly injected him with something because he couldn't feel his foot, because the sole of his boot split away from his boot. And he was limping around, and he didn't because he couldn't. His foot was so numb from being, pain killed, that he didn't understand that it was his boot that had come to bits. He thought his foot was fucking hanging off or something.
Oh, wow!
He was and then when he realized it was just his boot that had come to bits, he looked at the sideline and clapped and said, "Don't worry about it. No, it's just my boot. It's not my ankle falling off." Okay, so maybe not the best midfielder in the world, but you can't give him too much.
And also, I think mentality-wise, I don't think he's a person in the club that's a problem mentality-wise. I actually wouldn't even doubt he would probably be more accountable for maybe his own mistakes than maybe other people are. I bet he probably is well aware of his own limitations and is well aware of his own sort of inabilities at times. But I think people just see kind of a big list of players like Lloris, Dyer, and Høiberg's always been a divisive one. As much as you and I think, stand up for him, he's been a divisive player at this club. It feels like it's never good to see players that aren't obvious, this guy should, have some say. This guy can have some power. Just the 3 out of 4 of them, you're just like, I don't really know if they should be the ones having any sort of say, of any kind. And if anything, too, most of these guys, their spots are at risk. Like Høiberg could still lose his spot to a Basuma, could still lose his spot to a Skippy, lose his spot to a Bentancur, right?
I wish he would, and that's the thing. Like I can see Høiberg's value as a leader and as someone who can, if you've watched, can hit a penalty. I mean, he's got a decent free kick on him. I mean, there's a useful squad player in that man, and also you can't hurt him. He's a modern warrior. So there is a place for a player like that, I think, in our squad. Yeah. Expecting him to play every minute of every game all season long is, he'll do it because he won't say no, because he'll do it, but we need to say no, and we need to have someone with different skills in there to break down, low blocks and do different things. So,
well, Ribsy, any last words before you forever hold your peace?
No. I've taken enough of everyone's time. I really appreciate it.
Great chat.
Thanks for having me on, and I'll try and be around again in the future. And Jack, mate,
2 in a row is good enough for me, my man.
Your intro to this, by the way, you've moved right into that like professional broadcaster sort of voice.
I was stuttering aplenty. That's very kind of you. I appreciate it. My morning voice, my throat actually, funny enough, hurts actually a lot for some reason. I think I'm getting a little under the weather here. So
that's no
I'm
good,
pushing
mate.
through.
Sorry to hear that, but you sound good. You're doing a good job, mate.
Keep it well lubricated. Yeah, keep it well lubricated with water.
That's the trick. That's the trick.
Yeah,
More
that
whiskey.
is the trick. Exactly. Yeah. With all the keeping the throat nice and quenched. But yeah, thank you, my man. Thank you. Appreciate the chat.
Good times, guys. I'll see you.
All right. See you, Ribsy. Catch you, man. Everybody, big up Ribsy. Please show the man some love. Please show the man some support. I absolutely love chatting with him. 2 in a row he's now stayed up for as well, because I know it's quite late over where he is too. So he's stayed up 2 times in a row now to have a good old chat on the fan show. So really do appreciate that. But everybody, keep smashing that like button. Keep getting your comments in. We're going to keep pushing on through here, through this lineup, through this queue. It looks like we have the likes of Daniel next. Then it's going to be Ryan after that, Ellie, Ashmatic, Donovan, and then Michael. Everybody, plenty of good guests lined up. So please keep tuning in. Please keep getting your comments in. Bring them up on screen and smash that like button for me, please, everybody. But let's bring on Daniel, who's actually, speaking of Høiberg, maybe has some things on Høiberg that, we're gonna be surprised to hear. Daniel, what's up, man?
Well, it's not just him, of course. It's all the players.
The whole team. Yeah.
But I feel like they've cheated on me, for the longest time, and I caught them in the act, and they need a whole lot to be forgiven.
I said even during the watch along. I said during the watch along, Daniel, I bet you agreed with me that I had my own like media blackout with the team and everything. Like, didn't watch any of the videos or any like the sort of training things or any sort of like Instagram posts of any kind, by the club. I just sort of like tuned off. Didn't want to see them. Like, I didn't want to see them smiling. Didn't want to see them really doing anything, of any kind that would have, because I knew it just would have pissed me off. I knew it would have just set me off. So you kind of still feel that way. And I think a lot of us probably still feel that way. So I don't blame you.
Yeah, no, it's so tough for me to I mean, I don't this season, I'm going to sound like an absolute dickhead, but I wanted us to get smashed last night. I want us to lose really bad. I just want these. I feel so bad. I just want these players to suffer.
In the way that you've suffered, you kind of feel like, right?
Yeah, I want to feel, them to feel some kind of like what we fans feel, at least some of us. Even though that makes me sound like an absolute moron, but the love for me, for the club and for these players, just completely drained. And football's not about it. I mean, I watched Wrexham. You see Wrexham. You look at the state of that. Yours here. You see, that's what I want to feel. I want to feel like Wrexham are feeling.
Yeah. Sorry, Ellie, you're after Ryan. I just tried to text you it. I just said it aloud. Try to tell Ellie in 3 different ways. For me, Daniel, I don't blame you for still being kind of beaten down and broken, right, by this team. And I think it would take a lot for you to, in any way, sort of feel like you can still look these guys sort of in the eyes or in the face. I also said too, Romero, his performance against Newcastle was so dreadful and such an opposite version of what I usually see from him that I said I would need probably 3, 4, 5. I don't even know how many, but plenty more performances like he had against Man United in order for me to really have that same praise and love. Because you know me, Daniel, I'm desperate to happy clap again. I'm desperate to sort of show these players love. And we always have nicknames for them and everything. We're quite, we're very hard on the players, but we're very, supportive of them when they do well too, here on this channel. And but like Romero let me down that night. He really let me down against Newcastle, where it was like, I don't know if I can go over the top with my like praise and love for him and my support for him, because like you said, it was just like really let you down, like, and really felt like, I can't show them the same appreciation that you feel like you normally do. I know what you mean.
No. Yeah. They need to do this like whole next season, it's going to take whole next season and for hopefully a good season to at least for me to get some sort of redemption back from me. But also, like I heard like after yesterday's, we got to give him some credit for the performance. What? No, this is just the beginning.
They only showed up in one half. As much as we dissected it, they only showed up in one half anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Why can you have seen this before? I know it's like different manager, but come on, I'm confused. I just don't really understand all this because I feel like they could have had this in them for like a long time, even with Conte, Stellini, whatever. Like, I don't. I'm struggling to understand this team.
Do you feel like, do you want to maybe make yourself feel a little bit better then, Daniel? Let's do some squad management this summer. Right here, I'm going to put up a center back list in front of you. This will make yourself feel a little bit better. I brought up that analogy. They all have to outrun the bear. Which ones do you think? Because you can't get rid of all of them in one summer. I know we want to. I know, that's probably what needs to happen, but we also could try to be realistic a little bit too, right? It's probably... I think Spurs should be able to get rid of 3 of these guys. They should be able to get rid of 3. It'd be silly if they couldn't. I think that is well impossible to get rid of 3. Those 3 for me would be Dyer, Tanganga. No, maybe Dyer, Rodon, Sanchez. What's your combination if you could get rid of 3? That's where it's because I think everybody wants to get rid of 4. But could we get rid of 4 in one summer? That's a lot of guys.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, okay, we're gonna dissect this into like what we want, of course, is only Romero to stay. That's what we want, right? Realistically, Dyer, Sanchez, Rodon, sold. Langley, I don't know if you're gonna buy him. But for me, it will be for next season. It will be keep Romero, Davis, and if we sign Langley, then keep him fine, even though I don't really rate him. But
Joe Rodon, what's funny about him for me is that only Steve Hitchen would find a way to bring in a worse center back than Sanchez and Dyer and the rest of these.
Is he really worse?
I think he is.
I don't think
he's not even playing for
really.
Rennes. He's not even playing for Rennes.
Wow.
Like
to be honest,
like he's been dropped repeatedly by the Rennes manager, and they're actually having a decent campaign. Like at least they went deep. They went okay, like in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. I think they had an okay campaign and whatnot. So it's not like they've been an absolutely dreadful side. Like it's just clearly the case that they've been better without but no one is worse than Dyer. says
yeah, that's what I'm trying to see. Like
at this stage, I could see why you probably would think that. But I think Rodon, the sad as it may be, I think he is worse than almost all of them, maybe, and that's why he probably was even shipped out on loan because it looked like that Conte didn't have any faith in him. I'm pretty sure Nuno didn't have any faith in him. Jose was just sort of playing like musical chairs. It felt like with the center backs because he just had no confidence.
Yeah, I remember that.
Them. Yeah, that was actually more fun to see which center back he was going to be picking that week, which one he felt more confident in, was a game-by-game basis. But yeah, for me, I think Rodon is going to go no matter what. I think we're going to try to ship him on. He just looks like he doesn't have any future of any kind. Dyer is the question mark and the big one because it feels like he is probably the most consistently played, so therefore we see his mistakes most often. I think if we watch Sanchez repeatedly play every match, we would also see like a plethora of really bad mistakes. But for me, I think it's going to be, I'm actually going to go Dyer, Sanchez, Rodon. I'd keep Tanganga.
You keep him?
I'd keep Tanganga. Also, he plays that homegrown spot, which is important. Very homegrown spot. And I don't know. At the end of the day, I think he is probably better than Dyer, maybe. I don't know. No,
it's so depressing.
Well, I thought we were going to make ourselves feel better, but this John Stokes says get rid of Dyer, Sanchez, Davies. I'd keep Ben Davies there, John Stokes. Ben Davies, I think, is as boring as he is. I agree with Mia. Vanilla ice cream. He's a vanilla ice cream sort of defender where he's just going to get the job done. He shouldn't be played too often, but he can get the job done in a more of a boring kind of competent, I wouldn't, that's a bit far, but more of a boring sort of like effective manner than the rest of them. His errors I don't think are nearly as high profile, John. That's just me. I don't think his errors are nearly as high profile.
No, I agree with that. I agree with you.
But yeah, Davies keeps his spot. That's what I would say. We also have a wingback problem here, Daniel. Fullbacks as well. We have Porro, Spence, Emerson, Perisic, Sessegnon, Reguilon, Udogie.
Goodness me.
I'd get rid of Perisic and Sessegnon. And then I'd consider I get rid of Perisic, Sessegnon, this is the trouble one, right? What do you do with like Spence or Emerson? And like you still have 3 right wing backs for next season, and that's going to potentially be an issue.
Yeah, well, Poro though, we transform into a winger.
Yeah,
like,
what do you think?
Because he can't defend. Yeah, he can't defend. It's great going forward. Can't not defend. I've never seen like. Think I could do better. Jesus. But so that's out. Spence, I see he's played. Have you seen anything? Has he played for?
He's also kind of been dipping in and out of the team. He's not been nearly, I think, as inconsistent as Joe Roden. I don't think his games have been as poor, but he's definitely had some bad games for Rennes.
Yeah, you can't sell him either right now. That's too early. Emerson keep, of course.
I think Spence, if anything, has proven to not be great defensively. I think that's what's been shown to be the case. He makes some errors defensively, so he's a bit like a Poro. He's a bit like a Poro.
Fucking hell, this is Poro. Perisic, fucking the milk is going. I mean,
I think we have a problem at left back next season, where if Perisic supposedly wants to go or is keen on maybe just going, he's thinking that the Premier League and this move with Conte and everything, the way it's gone about, he's just feeling like he'd rather just go someplace else. If Sessegnon and Perisic, we know Sessegnon's just not good enough. Like, he needs to get out of here. So we find ourselves with Udogie as basically the only left back of any kind, or even we don't even know if he is a left back. Like,
we don't know if what he could do there. So that's another surprise.
John Stokes, get rid of Spence, Sess, and Reggie. He's already given up on Jed Spence. We have a big plethora of players there. Yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't even really played for us either. I mean, that just tells everything about
Peter Simons. It's quicker to discuss who to keep. I agree with that. I do agree.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but you can't get rid of them all in one summer, Peter. Harry Kane was taunted by the Man United fans. They were saying, "We'll see you in June." Do you think he'll force another move, Daniel? Or do you think Daniel Levy will even let him go in the first place?
I think he will. I think he should force a move. I mean, if he's any smart here, I mean, for his own career's sake, to hopefully win a trophy, he needs to move. Or I don't think he's going to win a trophy in his career, which is nuts. But Levy probably won't let him. Probably won't let him. I'm going to hold out on that. I don't think he will sign the contract either, though. So it's either going to be sold or run down his contract, which is even worse. Imagine not getting any money from him. Jesus.
I'd actually rather, as stupid as this might be business-wise, which is probably why I'm never, asked on these sort of decisions. They never asked for my input, Daniel. But I think Harry Kane, I'd rather he just go on a free in the summer, if I'm going to be honest. I think we have such huge surgery required on that defense and goalkeeper. Like, we need to replace Lloris. We need to replace so many center backs. We need the wing backs. We need to fix that issue too. Midfield has some problems. Like, selling Harry Kane is like, just, you're adding like such an unneeded distraction. Like, it's like I said, you have a leg operation tomorrow, Daniel, and it's like you're selling both your kidneys to pay for the leg operation. It's you maybe your priorities are getting a bit mixed up here, and you probably do need to think about a future without Harry Kane. I completely acknowledge that sometimes we don't accept that one day there will be no Harry Kane, and we have to prepare for that. But this is the worst possible summer, I think, to do it. Like,
of course,
circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, defense and midfield needs to be the first to have surgery on, of course. But I just feel a little bit sorry for him, to be honest.
Do you think he didn't like Ronaldo because he didn't press? Would Harry Kane be willing to press and work hard and press from the front in a Ten Hag system?
See, that's the thing. I don't know if he doesn't really press anymore. But I don't know if he is going to play like more like with Jose style, where he drops deep and all that. If he wants to play like that, I don't know if that's what kind of Ten Hag would think about. But other than that, I don't really see him as Ten Hag striker. Even though they have Vegas, which is, oh my God, one of the worst players I've ever seen. But I feel he's more like a fast. Even though he did have Haller as well, didn't he? I don't know. I just don't really see it.
All right. Thoughts on the Daniel Levy player meeting here that we brought up? The likes of what was it here? Yeah. Daniel Levy spoke with Harry Kane. He said the chairman asked for a meeting. It was important for him to understand where the players' heads were at. It wasn't just the Newcastle result. It had been building up since we conceded 2 goals against Southampton. It was an honest conversation of where everyone is at and what we need to try to do to give us the best possible chance to finish the season with something. What do you make of this meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really agree with like player meetings, because I feel like that just means, the players have more power than any manager, and that's completely wrong in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, if we knew that they would stop playing for Conte and Stellini, so of course it was, if we gonna have any chance of finishing Europe, then Mason had to come in, and we could see it last night in that second half that at least they had some, fight for him. It looks like they did play for him, running into his arms as well. So
this was a real test. It felt like the game after the Newcastle one was like, who gives a damn? Who actually cares? Who actually is willing to hold themselves accountable and stand up for themselves, as well as stand up for the club, right? And don't just completely roll over for the next opponent. I think Romero, you would say, passed that test. I think Pedro Porro, as much as he is a bit of a liability defensively, passed that test. And I think there were some other players, like a Skip, I think I'm having question marks over whether he really does have a full future here with Spurs, but I think he still is showing to be a lot harder working than other players, and he's always very good. It seems like now at one stage, I remember he was screaming at one of, I think it was Høiberg, or he was screaming at Dyer or somebody too. Like Skippy's starting to get more of a voice, it looks like, in the team. So Longley, I actually thought he had an okay game. He actually nearly scored too, by the looks of things. I thought he was better than Eric Dyer by a long shot. So it's hard to know. It feels like Daniel at this stage in time, it's about who actually can show some type of effort that they actually give a shit.
I'm just like scared that players think that that's it. We're done that part now. Now everyone's satisfied. It's kind of like you're going to therapy like one time and you think, oh, that's it. Now we're okay again. No, this is just the start. Now you got to prove it for at least the rest of this season and years to come. I don't trust these players. You can hear I don't trust these guys.
Mm.
You wouldn't trust them on the ship. They would fucking jump before you. Like women and children first. No, I'm going first. God.
Yeah, they're self-interested. Exactly right. I think that's a good way to describe it. Another question here though from me, Daniel Naglesmann leading the manager race. Sounds like we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but there was big news coming out about how Spurs seem to have him as the top candidate. Rangnick is twerking for us right now, wanting to be the director of football. What do you make of all of it? Would he be your top choice, and would you be happy if he were to come in, Nagelsmann?
Of course, yeah, of course. Come on, that's the one and only. I've said that before. If he signs a contract, I'm signing with him. I'm not going to complain for every years he's here, because I just think that's, you got to give him every single minute works. Even if this seems to think times goes bad, no, give him every single worth of time to figure this out. And if Rangnick comes with him, I think Rangnick is probably a good sporting director. Was a really good manager. Mm-hmm. But the Italian Revolution didn't work, so why can't the German Revolution work? Hey, hey,
yeah. On deutsches Erfahrung. On deutsches Erfahrung. Yeah, here we go. Rangnick, for me, he's proven to be successful on sort of the footballing business side of things. Like when it comes to scouting networks, when it comes to bringing in player personnel and everything, he's been quite successful in that regard. As a manager, he really proved to fail. I think he was absolutely dreadful over there with Man United. I did like actually the fact that he brought in some of the younger players though, which does show that he is somebody that could maybe bridge that gap though between the youth and sort of the first team. He could maybe help out in that regard. And then what we want is also that sort of dynamic again, as much as maybe people didn't like Pratici or didn't like Conte or didn't like both, let's say, there was clearly a relationship between them. We knew that Paratici and Antonio Conte have worked with each other before, know each other quite well, and that was always good. That's a good thing inevitably. Like you want to have the director in football and the manager on some, they don't have to love each other, but they have to be on some sense of the same page, have some sense of the same ideas, just in some way get each other right, and that's all that matters, I think.
100%. I mean, they worked together before, I think, maybe as well. I mean, you might have at Leipzig.
Yeah, Rangnick, he worked at Leipzig. Yeah, he's a Red Bull guy. And the Red Bull scouting group is very extensive too. Like if he's able to bring anybody through from that sort of system as well, they could definitely help us out because they have some pretty extensive sort of networks, and they seem to be able to bring in through all the top talents, especially from like France and stuff. They seem to be able to have like a big Kane, and all those kind of young talents.
But also that means hopefully that if that happens, then they have a big like cleanup here. Because Dyer can, well, he cannot work anyway, but I think Naglesmann see Dyer, he's going to fucking strangle him, to be honest.
One of the last things I'd say on Naglesmann actually is that he's always had a sort of center back that is very good on the ball, like technically, like is also really good sort of kind of, if anything, he's one of the players that sort of starts attacks. It's been either Upamecano, I think, for him at Leipzig and at Bayern. But then it was at Hoffenheim. It was a guy that Kevin Vogt, I think was his name. And he was a brilliant player,
he was
actually.
He was midfielder first.
Yeah, exactly.
Transformed into centre back.
And I don't think there's anybody in the squad right now that could in any way play that type of role for him. So he would need to go into the market, bring somebody that can play that very key role in his system. And in order for that to be successful, you think you would need a guy like a Rangnick or someone that can help with that sort of, identification, right, of the right or targeting of the right players. But yeah, I'm excited to see if any manager that comes in, I actually hope they demand a lot from their center backs, because then that just means they know they can't do anything with these center backs, and they'll just say, can't work.
That's got to be the first thing brought up. Like, listen, these center backs, or I need big overall here, and you need to give me. That's got to be the first thing that's settled. And that's not just got to be empty words. That's got to be some sort of like written contract, in the contract, like center backs back.
Get him in.
But also, I heard. Yeah, I also heard though some people actually wanted Mason to get the full-time job. What the fuck? Come on, I got the utmost respect for Mason, right? He went through horrible. Could have died that injury. Seems to be an intelligent man. But he can't. I like the confidence he said that he feels ready, but you're not ready. You're not ready. You're not ready to fix this.
I like that what you said. That you like the confidence, but he's not ready. Yeah. I think that's the right. If anything, he also should go through the same. He should go through the same route that a lot of these guys have to go to, right? You see him Tuchel start from the very bottom. You've seen Jurgen Klopp start from the very, very bottom, right? And I'd rather see Ryan Mason. He already has a bit of a leg up than other people have had, right? With the managers he's had to work with, and like sort of the development he has had is probably better than what other people usually get. Usually most people have to start really from like the very bottom of sort of the rungs of it. So I think if he gets some sort of opportunity to go abroad, I think that would be better for him too, to go abroad and be able to learn, maybe other kind of tactics, as well as be able to work with players that aren't just from the sort of English pyramid, right, too. That'd be good for him to go to like a Bundesliga, or even go to an Eredivisie or whatever it may be, right? I think it'd be interesting to see him test his trade out there, learn about himself, learn about his tactics. Also, as well, when you're further away from England, you're kind of, I think, drawn away from a bit of the spotlight, right? You're not having as much attention on you. You can kind of get away from sort of the media press and sort of the tabloids and stuff like that. And that could all help him as well, too. So, but then from there, I think he has to do well, come back to England, take some type of job in the Championship or some type of job with a Premier League club. And then from there, maybe we could consider him for a Spurs job. But that's like 6, 7, 10 years down the road for me.
Yeah.
10 years down the road, I would consider him. Yeah.
I mean, he could do like a venture company, like totally like be awesome, as a manager. But you got to start somewhere,
Yeah.
And then if that works, then come to us in the future, and we're here with you with open arms. Hopefully.
Completely agree. Well, Daniel, anything that I didn't get to let you say? Any kind of final talking points or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I do, but it's a little bit like, I didn't really like, I have no right to say what other people can do or not. So this is just my honest opinion. Like, and I don't mean to talk down on anyone, but for me, seeing like the stadium almost full annoys me. I feel like there should have been a bigger.
You expected more empty seats.
Yeah, I feel like for me, and like I said, I have no rights to say what you do, but for me, like there's got to be more shown, or like something more of a protest. I think still it's a little bit too weak from us.
And you mean particularly more inside the stadium? Maybe more so you feel like more so inside the stadium it needed to be. Yeah, it's something. Maybe you wanted to see something, either a walkout or just more empty seats or something like that.
Because that's what it hurts most, I think, at least. If the stadium doesn't get filled, that hurts massively.
Rain Man saying my season ticket seat was empty last night, and I was distracted with a bunch of other things, Rain Man, so I actually didn't get to pay much attention to what empty seats there were and everything. I was just distracted with running the watch along, and it failed on me anyway, so you could tell I really was distracted with all of it. But I don't really think there is any good way to go about it. I can't, like you say, Daniel, tell what somebody should be doing, or what I think is the better way to go about it. But there was a lot of noise ahead of time about how there were going to be, I think, empty seats and things like that. Maybe that changed. Maybe it was more the memo was, keep your seat and make life uncomfortable for Daniel Levy, because other people said that, like, if my seat goes empty, maybe there's one less person then, yelling at Daniel Levy. And so there's that dynamic, right, too, that maybe people who did keep their seat then were giving it to Levy for 90 minutes. So it's, it's not always, too good of an answer, or there's not always a perfect answer, the perfect way of going about it. Yeah. And I think you said that. I think you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was too busy fighting the internet demons. Exactly right.
That was. I did like came over to Sean's channel as well to watch it there as well. So don't worry, I didn't miss you. Paul Beatty was fucking hilarious, by the way. Jesus.
Yeah, he was holding it down.
God, I love this.
He was holding it down.
He was hilarious to his comments. Oh my God, I almost died.
Paul, if you're listening, but Daniel enjoyed it. We'll get you back on, Paul. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, he's a good one to watch it with. Especially, I love when he's always telling the defenders to crush into them. He gets really mad when he sees like a defender pull back. Looking anyway. Daniel, good chat, my man. Good chat. Thanks for your patience as well. And Sunday, that's the pain is coming back Sunday.
Yeah, I'll be there. Can't look away.
Do you hold any hope?
I don't think that we're gonna be. I mean, the atmosphere. I'm sorry, I don't think they can handle atmosphere. Oh, but you never know.
Never know.
But I don't
really
surprise
us once again. They could surprise us once again. Pick yourself up though, Daniel. Great chat, my man.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right.
Take care.
See you soon. Come on, you Spurs. See you soon, brother.
Come on. Yeah.
Bye, Daniel. Everybody, big up Daniel. Show him some love in the chat. Love talking to that guy. And he's changing his mind on Høiberg. He's changing his mind on, not changing his mind. He's just sort of, he's beaten down and broken, I think, with this team right now. And I don't blame him at all. That's just, I think this team has basically taken a lot out of us and hasn't given anything back. Let's just say that. But big yourselves up, everybody. Really do appreciate you all for tuning in. And I did see the black balloons out onto the pitch for 23. Yeah, I saw that, Phil. And I saw that. So there were plenty of, I think, certain demonstrations and whatnot. And I also can't really say much because I was just well distracted by the internet demons. So I wasn't even able to pay attention to all that sort of thing as I usually can. But big yourself up, Phil. And then also big yourself up, Welsh Gal, Stevie Frazier, Sean Maddox, Benuno, Peter Simons, all you people in the building, really do appreciate you. But we're going on to the next guest of the evening. It is going to be Ryan, then Ellie, Ashmatic, Donovan, and then Michael. Let's bring on Ryan here. Hey, Ryan. Where do you want to start, brother? Do you want to start with the Man United match?
Mate, right? Dyer is as pathetic as a 2-year-old.
Not all 2-year-olds are pathetic.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, he's more pathetic than a 2-year-old.
Is it the second goal for you, or is it just his whole performance in general?
What? Him standing like a statue.
I think he was more not even a statue. He was more like a chauffeur. I thought, Ryan. He was more like a chauffeur. He was showing him to the goal. He was like, here's your table over here, sir. We have a nice table for you. We have a nice table for you here. Here's my kitchen. He showed him inside his whole house.
Nah, it was worse than that. He was a statue. It's literally right. What would any sane person do if they were being burgled? They would actually try and attack back, wouldn't they? Or do something to stop someone from robbing your house, right? Dyer, if he got robbed, he'd just sit there and say, take everything.
The other thing that people get mad at with Dyer is that he never at once engages, right? He never once sort of like makes a challenge or makes any sort of effort towards maybe Rashford. It feels like probably people would be maybe less mad at Dyer if he even just missed the challenge, because seeing a guy never make a single attempt is almost more torture, right, Ryan? Because you're just watching the guy just not actually do anything for the whole time. You almost wish he rather just missed it, right? You wish he rather just made an attempt and missed it.
Well, I said this morning on my channel, Jack, right? That he looked like a fucking statue. And it's the best way to put it. Like, statues have more movement than he does.
Tequila saying, not really, Ryan. It's called the fight or flight, or flight or fight. And he's a flighter. He's the one who flees.
I mean, Tequila, we've all got our own sayings, love, but I think it's just obviously it's the obvious, most basic thing that I could come up with when it comes to that. But I do appreciate you, though.
Scared of the ball. I completely agree. I think he's just scared to make a challenge. I think he's scared to get, sort of stuck in on a guy. If anything, he just finds it where maybe he thinks he has all the time in the world. Maybe he just thinks someone else is going to eventually come in and help him out. It's strange because he is the last man. He is a center back. Center backs are supposed to be renowned for making those type of challenges, being able to be good in those one-on-one situations. And usually you would see a center back eventually make some sort of attempt. What often happens is they do get skipped past, right? Rashford just does them, megs them or something. Again, I'd rather have seen that than him just sort of show him the whole way. And it was almost like, when you're pulling out of, the tarmac, and on in an airplane, like the guys with the strobe lights, it really was like, that's how Dyer was. He was just showing him towards the goal. He was reminding him where to go. He was motioning him towards, like I said, motioning him towards his table. It just, it's not what a center back would do. And it also shows that he's never been a natural center back. He's not a natural center back. He's originally
right. And do you know what the funny thing is, Jack? Right, and I will bring this up with you next week a bit more in depth, obviously, because there's a lot I want to talk to you about in depth on my channel. So I won't go into too much here. I know that Dave would probably love me to, but obviously I've got to keep something back, Dave, for my own content, mate. But no, but do you know, though, Jack, right? The one thing I will say about it, right, is that the one person that I'm glad was not playing, because he was throwing big up Mark P, mate, is that Hugo Lloris decided to throw a strop off the pitch for once by not even wanting to play. So that's a good thing. I suppose we can be grateful for that.
Yeah, we can be. Big up Peter Simon saying Ryan's a good one. Big up Peter.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you feel like on the game, though, is that maybe just, I know there's been so much evidence for this season, Ryan, about how the majority of the defense needs to go, but just more and more opportunities for it to become more obvious, right?
Yeah,
more obvious that Daniel Levy, probably takes him a long time for these things to become obvious to him, but I feel like that was just another example of him right in front of his eyes watching Eric Dyer concede a goal like that. It's just further example of what needs to be done this summer. And if we end up seeing that Dyer contract renewal, we know we're probably not going to get the defense that we need this summer. I think that's where it goes, is that if we see that contract renewal for any one of those guys, I think that will just be the sign that we're not getting the defense we need this summer.
Yeah, but Jack, do you remember on Monday, or when the last time I was, or it was either Monday or it was either the Friday show, where I said to you that there is not going to be anyone being signed at the back. You're right, and I don't want to be kind of like down.
One defender will be signed this summer, not even one center back.
Dave, Jack, sorry, I've got Dave on the brain now. Sorry, mate. No, basically, yeah, right, Jack. I don't want to rain on your happy clappy parade where you think we're going to
happy clap again. Don't worry. Yeah,
I know you're desperate to happy clap, mate, but you're not going to be happy clapping anytime soon because no one's getting signed. It'll just be a load of rumours rolling around for the whole summer, and do you know what? Right, I'm going to have fun picking out all the rumours this year, Jack, on my channel. It's going to be a fun place to be on my channel when everyone wants to see rumours, because I'll be looking on the internet. The minute I fucking see something, yeah, right, I'll be rumouring it, and then next thing you know, 5 minutes later, we find out they've gone to bloody Chelsea or somewhere like that.
Sounds like, Ryan, you're just going to be having your fly swatter out this summer with all the transfer rumors.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun on my channel this year.
I'm looking forward to our combo next week, my man. I'm looking forward to getting stuck
trust
in on
me,
that stuff.
Trust me, there's going to be a lot we can talk about. And I don't know how long we're going to have, because I don't know how long you or Dave would have. But, hey, that's something we can talk about in private, can't we? We don't have to spread that all out on internet.
We're not giving the details to any of that, secret Dyer discussion, secret Dyer transfer meetings, all that stuff. Sean Maddox saying the Dyer contract renewal is a sign of zero ambition. I'm happy clapping this summer, Sean, if we don't get a Dyer contract renewal. If we don't see a Dyer contract renewal, that would give me some optimism that we are maybe fixing this defense in some manner. It'd be baby steps, baby steps. But for me, if I see that Dyer contract renewal, we're not seeing the defense that we need this summer, because that just shows, like you said, just also as well, the fact that Dyer is one of the guys in the player committee. Would he be willing to let someone come into the team that he knows could easily displace him from the squad, right? If he has this sort of power within the squad, would he let somebody come in that he knows can take his spot? So.
Yeah, but you know what the thing is, Jack? Yeah, right? Like I said, I don't like to rain down on your happy clapping problem, and I know you're desperate to happy clap, but I'm guaranteeing you this, right? And this is a full-on guarantee, and if I'm wrong, you can hit me hard in the comments on my channel, yeah, right? But I'm guaranteeing you all this now, and this is to everybody, right? Don't get happy because Dyer signing that contract. So is Sanchez. So is Hugo Lloris. We are just going to be in the same position as we are now, as we are in the summer. So I'm sorry to dishearten everybody with that, but that's the exact truth. I mean, I'm not going to come on here and tell lies and say we're going to be signing everybody, because I've done that last time round, Jack. Do you remember in the August at the back end of the and they made me look like a real mug. So I'm just going to be realistic this time round.
Being realistic this summer, Ryan, what do you think then? I think being realistic this summer would mean probably 2 to 3 defenders could be out the door. And then it's probably, in order to bring defenders in, we have to get rid of defenders. So I had a question here earlier. Big up to Spurs 72, absolute legend. Good to see you in the house, my man. But here's the list of defenders for you, Ryan. I mean, could we get rid of 2 to 3 of these guys?
We're not getting rid of. I'm being totally realistic with you, mate, and I'm sticking by this till the end of time. And I'm
pushing back against me. You're not making it easy. But I feel like there's no way we can't get rid of 2 of these guys, Ryan.
We can't. We can't. Nobody wants them. Nobody wants them. Okay, Lenglet, right? He's only on loan, so he's going off anyway. So wipe Lenglet off, right? Already, because we know that he's not staying. But then you're looking at any of these, right? None of them are going. None of the others out of all of them are going. And I'm sorry to say it to everybody, but that's exactly what's happening. I don't want to be being negative. I don't like being negative about this club. I love this club with the bottom of my heart. Like I love my cat, and like I love my.
Exactly right.
I'm not going into my private life, but yeah, right.
I know what you mean. I know what you're saying. And you want to be happy clapping alongside me, Ryan, but you just you don't see it. You just don't see the evidence for it. You don't see the evidence for it.
No, there is no evidence for it, right? But I tell you what was good evidence, though, right, Jack? And I don't know if you actually saw it, right? But I think a lot of people, it was a telltale sign what was said, right? Well, not what was said, but what was the pictures told you everything you needed to know by Daniel Levy yesterday. When it said Levy out, with that big banner. Do you remember? I don't know if you saw that, Jack.
Yeah, there were a few of them.
Yeah. But you saw the big one happened right in the second half, and then they went straight to Levy.
I don't know if I got to see the cut. Maybe you got a different sort of maybe again I was dealing with the internet demons. So take me through it, Ryan. What does Levy's expression look like?
Yeah, right. They went to the banner first, yeah. Right, that's the one, James. Where James Hunter, that's the one where it said "Enoch out." Yeah, it said hashtag Enoch out. But then after that had happened, yeah, right. They cut to Daniel Levy, and he looked sick as a fucking pig. Seeing that sign. Just seeing that sign, he was sick as a pig. He didn't know where to put his face.
Normally, he often looks a bit emotionless. You don't think that was the case? Do you think he looked like a bit anxious or nervous? Or...
Oh, he looked like he was literally shitting a brick wall. Literally. Because he doesn't like people rebelling against him. Yeah, Tequila, thank you. See, I'm not the only one that saw it. He was looking sick as a pig. He was looking sick as a pig. He felt so uncomfortable, Jack, that he wanted to
accomplish then, Ryan? Isn't that mission accomplished? Isn't that mission accomplished is to make him feel uncomfortable in these scenarios, in these games? You don't want him to feel comfortable.
Jack, this is where I think...
Isn't that what we want? Isn't that what we want?
Yes, but I think this is where everyone's missing the point at this point. We've made him feel uncomfortable now. Perfect. But we need to keep it going.
Yeah.
Game in, game out. From all the way now through this season, all of next season. And like Mia's, I saw Mia's this morning. If Mia, if you're still here, I agree with what you said this morning on your channel. You need to keep it up. Not just for one game, because otherwise he's going to go back feeling comfortable again. We don't want him feeling comfortable. We want him out. And you know what? I also agree with what something else Mia said on hers earlier as well. We don't know who's coming in next. We won't know who's coming in because we don't own that. I'm sorry, Mia. I'm taking after what you said now.
I know. I do that too. Don't worry.
Wrong, then please
I always steal from her. I always steal her ideas. I always steal what she has to say.
No, but if I am going to apologize, but Mia, if I have said anything wrong, just put in the chat what I actually said properly. What you said. Thank you. Thank you, Mia. But yeah, she went and said. She actually. Yeah. Nah, it's all good, Mia. But Mia actually said along the lines of just because we don't know who's coming in next. I think if I remember rightly, she could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if I remember, she said that it was just because we don't know who's coming in next doesn't mean that it's we should stop making Levy uncomfortable or something like that. Or I can't remember, or it was something somewhere along them lines. She'll probably put in the comments in a minute saying, "No, I said something."
I believe Peter Simon said earlier, Levy has better get used to it. So like that sort of feeling that you were saying he had from the banners and everything, that's a feeling you want him to get used to.
Yeah. That's that. Do you know what? Big up Peter Simons, man. Like all day long, man. That's exactly what he needs to start doing. He needs to be getting used to it because do you know what the funny thing is, Jack? If he doesn't start getting used to it and he doesn't start seeing the reality of what's going on, we're gonna be in a relegation fight next year if we're not careful. And that's just me being realistic. And I don't want us in a relegation fight. I want us challenging for titles. I want us fighting for the league every year. I want us fucking winning FA and League Cups and Champions Leagues and everything else, right? The best time we ever had of winning the Champions League, right, was in 2019 against Liverpool. And do you know what? We fucked it up. And do you know why we fucked it up? Sanchez. So, Sanchez...
In the Liverpool final, you're saying?
Yeah, in the Liverpool. It was the handball.
Sissoko, you're saying?
Oh, Sissoko, yeah. Well, okay, yeah, because, you know, them two are just nowadays. But, yeah, like, thanks, Sissoko. You screwed us right over there. But then you can also thank the UEFA for fucking us over as well. But, yeah, you know, and that was our best chance. That was the best chance, and we should have built off of that. But we never did. Levy thought, oh, it's okay. Let Poch do what he needs to do for the next few years, right? He'll get us through these whilst we're getting the money spent on the stadium. Oh, we got right. But then we've got a flashy big stadium, right? But then what else have we got? What have we got to show for it? One trophy in what? 23 years. One trophy in 23 years. It is disgusting.
Do you want to see attacking beautiful football first, Ryan, or would you sooner see a trophy come? So would you rather Daniel Levy go back towards a win now manager, or should he go for a manager that's more like a Pochettino, where it takes a bit of time again and it's sort of about building up, a cohesive, strong team?
Yeah, this is what I've said the last couple of days on my channel. I would rather have the Pochettino route where, okay, right, it might not be attractive football half the time. I don't care about it. Like, I know a lot of people go and say, oh, well, it's attractive football that's wins us matches. It's not. It's about having, first of all, a good team, a good first 11, and a good subs bench. And then it's winning trophies, and then it's, I don't care about the attack. Look, champagne football, right, is just extra. I don't care about the champagne football. Champagne football can do whatever, right? But the thing is, it's got to be trophies first. If it comes with champagne football and we're winning trophies, I'll take that. Please, give us a trophy. We need to have a trophy. I'm getting bored. Flashy stadium and a relegation team when Kane goes. Yeah, exactly. We are going to be in a relegation. Thank you. Like, literally, right? Kane's off this year. I'm sorry to say Kane's going to be off. And I don't want that to happen. Like I said on Monday, I want Kane to stay. Mm-hmm. Kane is literally Kane and Son are like rubies. No, hang on. No. Whatever the most expensive
You don't need a metaphor, Ryan. I think they're the two best players that have played in my lifetime, basically, for Spurs. In fact, my lifetime as a Spurs fan, they're the two best players I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's the thing, yeah, right? They're the most expensive thing that you can get, right? Like jewelry-wise, like rubies, emeralds, or whatever, yeah? They're the most expensive parts, and they're the only two that are actually in that team that can easily stay in that team. But when you've got no one serving up balls to them that are actually going to be any good, when you've got the likes of Dyer just deciding, oh, you know what, I'm either going to do one of two things. I'm either going to fly kick the ball out as far as I can just to clear the ball, and it goes absolutely fuck all anywhere, right? Or he decides he's going to run up in the stands every 5 minutes and fucking punch people. What good is that?
Best of luck to him to try that again. See what happens. I bet he wouldn't even return back into the pitch. Probably the whole Spurs fans would come swinging at him. If he tried to do that now. Ryan,
no, but can you see what I mean though, Jack? Like, it's ridiculous. That's exactly what it is. It's like we got two gem players, yeah, right, and the rest is just literally. It's like trying to polish a turd, and what are you gonna get out of it? Diarrhea, basically.
Ryan, tell me about the channel, my man, because I'm going to be headed over there next week, and so is Big Dave, and we're going to be having a good chat with yourself. So tell us what's up there. And I see you already been putting up some videos anyways.
Yeah. Well, there's videos already out there that
I've to see. Tell people what to look at. Tell people where to go.
Well, basically, just literally every time I upload, I even actually, funny enough, Jack, went live for the first time the other day, and I thought someone would have turned up in my live, like me or someone, but hey, but like, do you know what, right? There's going to be a lot more things coming on, but just literally just go through all the videos for starters and see which ones you can you like, if there is any that you like. Hit that subscribe button, because that's something that would be very useful for me to help push the channel forward. And you're going to be getting a lot of transfer news, whether it's going to be good, bad, or the ugly. Literally,
You'll
right?
be telling it straight. It looks like this summer when it comes.
Oh yeah, no, I'll be telling it exactly how it is, and I'll be telling even Levy how to do his job. Trust me, right? By the time I'm finished, I hope Levy's watching my channel and he's taking some notes. Get out of our club for starters, but before you do that, make sure you open up your checkbook for one last time.
Open up
but
one last time.
There's other stuff that's going to be coming through anyway. Like I've got obviously you and Dave on there. Hopefully next week with a bit of luck, because I know it's been a bit of a busy week for both of you. But then I've also by next season I'm going to be having a bubble blower coming on for when we play the bubble blowers
for next season.
Yep.
Nice.
So when we play the bubble blowers, and I am going to say this in advance, there's going to be a warning sign, because my guest doesn't have a filter to his mouth.
Smooth talker, just like yourself.
Yeah, except he uses a lot more explicit language than what I use.
Well, we'll look forward to it, Ryan. We'll look forward to it, my man.
Yeah.
And,
so
any final words before I let you go and I go on to the next guest, my man?
Yeah. Well, all I can really go on and say is about Levy. Yeah, right. Is he's the twos and we the ones. Enoch out.
Love it, Ryan. Great call, my man. Great chat. A lot of people really appreciated it. They really liked your smile. They liked your sort of passion and everything, and they'll be seeing more of it on the channel. So, Ryan, appreciate you, my man. Great call. Another great call. Back-to-back good calls with me, my man. Liking it. Well done, dude. See you soon, dude.
See you later, mate.
Big up, everybody. Show Ryan some support. His link is in there 2 times. There's no excuse. It's right there for you. You can't avoid it. And I will be over there next week with the likes of Davo on Ryan's channel. So please check it out, everybody. Show the man some support. Love that kid's passion, everybody. And also, I think he's been doing great with the calls recently. I think since his move, his calls have been great, actually. So I've been enjoying what Ryan has had to say. Everybody, we're going to keep powering on, though. We have plenty more guests to get to. I believe it's the lovely Queen Ellie Høiberg is the next one to come and defend Høiberg's name, as well as also tell us maybe about, I think, the protest, because I think she was at the game. Ellie.
Yes, keep up that lovely spirit. Yeah, I liked Ryan's passion. Brilliant. We had that same passion on the front line of the protest yesterday. It was fabulous. And there was a lot more people joining us. And we had the rabbi. Oh, my God, that guy, Jack, is unbelievable. He must be well into his 60s, but he stripped bare. He was naked in the rut. Not basically that he had some bottoms on, but he had the top off, and he was drumming up with this, I don't know what it was. It was like a cane of some sort. And he was drumming up business for, get people over to join our protests, and lots did, which I was very impressed with. Yeah, and you know what? It was so heartwarming being on that line with everybody else and singing Levy Out, and all the other songs that were created for that day. It was fabulous. And I just hope that he takes heed that the fans are not happy, because if he does stay for any reason and he doesn't have the bottle to give up his job, I think he needs to think about what he's doing with our club seriously, and he's got to start not meddling and let somebody who he employs do the job, be it Naglesmann on his own or Naglesmann with Ragnick if he comes in as well, because I believe that will be the choice if Naglesmann accepts, because he's put a lot of conditions down, Jack. He wants guarantees, which is good, because that way, what Ryan's saying, that he doesn't believe our club is going to do anything because Levy's there. Well, if he does stay, that he has to do it. He has to do it. Otherwise, he will get the chop, because I don't see him resigning. I can't see him resigning. I just can't see it. I think if we force him out, it'll be a miracle, but we're trying our best. Because he's had 23 years now.
Ellie, did you feel like Ryan said Levy looked very uncomfortable in the stadium, and probably imagine that he was more uncomfortable than he usually is sitting there? Is it important that that sort of feeling that he might have had during the game kind of be repeated game after game, right? That he doesn't just, this isn't just a one-off, right? That he feels that way the next game after that.
Yeah. Well, we've got 3 away games left and 2 home games, haven't we, to beat our drum. So, yeah, you know what? He hasn't left yet. He's got a thick skin, the man, and he sees dollars in his eyes, you know. So it's going to be a very, very big bid to get him out of his seat, because I can't see Lewis. Lewis is very loyal to him, because he must be reading all the social medias. He must be, or having people watch it, right? And he still hasn't sacked him. That tells you something, doesn't it?
Yeah, some people have, I think some people who want Levy out would compromise, though, with Levy making it clear that he is in some shape or form stepping away from the footballing side of things. But there's just no guarantee that that's the case, or if it's, all the way truthful that he is stepping away from it. But I think that's what people ultimately want, right, Ellie, is that if they can't get him out entirely, then they want him to just really give up the footballing decision making and his influence over the football decision making entirely, because once they see that he's being more removed from that element, I think some people are actually quite okay with some of the business deals that he does and things like that. It's just his hand is too much in both pots, they feel like.
Yeah, very true. But the thing is, Jack, he won't step away from the football. He won't. He's not.
Why is that, Ellie? Is it humility? Is it lack of?
It's not humility. It's the fact that he wants to be involved. He wants to be the big king. He doesn't want anybody else to take his place. So he's employed this other guy. What's his name? Scott Munn. Yeah. Just as a smokescreen. It's like a PR thing. That's my opinion, anyway. Yeah.
It's only time will tell, Ellie, and the evidence of the past would suggest that he would be more likely a smokescreen than he would be the guy to have the keys being handed over to him. But all you hope for is that there is some sense of a guy that's coming in that can at least stand up to Levy, because we know that Paratici was actually somebody that was able to tell Levy when he thought he was wrong, or when he thought should have been maybe more left to him on sort of decisions. And with how many people Levy has been firing behind the scenes, right, with the likes of Paratici, I think a lot of sort of scouting network, kind of guys have been fired. A lot of people have been kind of let go over a short period of time. So I saw some article in The Athletic saying that the biggest worry is that even if Levy were to hand over the footballing operations and the footballing keys to somebody, he's kind of let go of so many people that it's not exactly possible right now. Like, he needs to hire a lot of people and hire new people before he even gives up, the footballing operations. So that's what's also frustrating. And some of the people he's even fired have proven to be very successful after they left Spurs, like that Paul Barber guy who's over at the likes of Brighton. And there's some other successful people like Michael Edwards, I believe, who's at Liverpool. A lot of people he's let go of have turned out to also then be successful after leaving Spurs.
That's where a good manager can fix it, because a good manager will demand all these pockets of the club to be fixed, because at the moment it's very fragmented and we're really down in the dumps because of this, and we've bought a lot of players that haven't worked out for us, and we've got so many on loan, so there's a lot of mending to do. I think that's why Naglesmann has put all these stipulations in, because he wants control. He's only a young man as well, and he's very dynamic. I like the fact that he's come in with all these demands, because it's setting out your stall before you get in, and then he'll demand that all those details that he's put in that plan to be met. Otherwise, he'll be out the door before they sack him. Yeah, so I'm glad he's done that, and it shows a bit of balls, to do it, right? So do you know what? I just want success for our club. Like Ryan said, I want to see trophies, and you don't get that with the way we've been running our club over the last 23 years. You need solidity. And Steve Perriman, I urge everybody to get over to his podcast, because he said you need to set a tempo, right, at the club. You need a tempo where you're all united for one goal and you all obey things that the club set down. You don't go and play with little cars trying to get them in cups. You know, have fun, but that sort of thing I don't want to see on social media, because we're losing 6-1 to Newcastle, and then you see that. It doesn't gel with the fans, and it doesn't gel with the wider outlook of how we're going forward. You've got to have players that are committed on the same page. I saw it in the second half, actually, against Man United. I would actually put that up with the best pressing performance since Poch days that I've seen, because we had really great intensity, and I liked what I saw because there was passion, there was fire in their bellies that Conte pointed out that we don't have, and it wasn't just that, it was the fact that you could see it in the players' eyes. Like, I saw Perisic, right? I was in the south stand, Jack, to the right of the goal on the row 3, so I was very close. I saw Perisic, he picked up the ball and he ran to the corner post to take that corner, you know, and then Porro did the same, right? So that intensity got us back in the match. It's not just football skill that win you matches or get you back into the matches. It's that fire in your belly that Conte said was missing, you know, and I hope and pray they take that same intensity to Anfield. Otherwise, we're going to get turned over. That's for sure.
Do you feel like, Ellie, the performance in the second half is more down to the players picking themselves up? Is it Ryan Mason making some tweaks? Because a lot of people felt like we could have been completely out of it in the first half. But then Spurs all of a sudden showed up. And I think it was, forget who it was. It might have been Mia or somebody that we were speaking to earlier in the beginning of the show, said that Man United fans were even thinking that they actually were happy with the draw towards the end of it. So why is it that Spurs all of a sudden turned it around? Because I didn't expect them to. I don't think there's any evidence to suggest they would have, and they did.
Like I said, they came out with fire in their bellies and fire in their eyes, right? Because we have got some really talented footballers at our club. It's not just Kane and Son. We've got Kulu, Richie, when he gets his act together, he can do something because his intensity is good. We've got Bentancur. We've got Skippy, who will fight for everything, right? Now you've got Forster, who's a very good general. I was watching him as well yesterday. He's very vocal, yeah, and he organises very well. When they had that free kick that Ericsson put over the bar, he was screaming at Romero to move over. You know, I haven't seen that from Hugo for a long, long while. You know, and that shows you that he wants to be number one at the club, and he's fighting for his future, the lad.
He's been unfairly treated, I actually think.
Like that. Yeah, he was. He shouldn't have been dropped because he didn't do anything wrong.
No, and also the way that Hugo Lloris, in my opinion, gave up on us at halftime, and the way that Hugo Lloris has behaved after conceding some pretty poor goals. Forster is probably looking at it and thinking, like, I would have either A, have saved that, or B, I would not have responded to my own players in that sort of manner, because we've seen Hugo, Ellie, anytime that he is sort of yelling at his players, it's more likely after he makes a mistake. It's usually not after someone else makes a mistake or something like that. I've seen Hugo throw his arms up at people right after it's only his fault. And that's where I've always questioned his captaincy, because when you see a guy who's incapable or incapable of being accountable for his own mistakes, how on earth can he be a captain then when he's accountable for the whole team?
Right. Yeah, because in that statement when he said probably the fans should be compensated, I mean, probably that just tells you that there's something inherently wrong with the whole club. Because if he comes out and says that, I'm sure that he got versed by the club before he comes out. You know, you don't just come out and say probably. Come on, right? And it's a gesture of goodwill that they, refunded the ticket prices. But no, it's not enough. And he should have said something different. And he should have apologised for not coming out and making up. You see, he stalled, Jack, when he said about the injury. He deliberately stalled because he's lying. He's lying. He didn't. Everybody knows. If you've got half a brain, you know that he wasn't injured. He wasn't.
Well, Ellie, here's how I would say.
believe
This
that.
is how I know he wasn't injured, Ellie, because he's a goalkeeper. If he was injured where he knew he was incapable or less capable of making saves the way he normally does or kicking it the way he normally does, that's not a position where you risk it. That's not a position where you sort of push on a little bit, see if, it can, maybe get a bit better, because you're the last man. You're the guy who's
Yeah.
saving goals from going into your own net. So if you feel like
I
you're
know.
incapable of diving or maybe falling on your shoulder, those sort of things, right? A goalkeeper has to be willing to do the craziest of things in the split moments. And if he
Yeah.
thinks he wasn't capable, then he should have subbed himself off. And that means then is that if he was pushing on when he probably shouldn't have, that probably meant some of the goals we conceded were his fault because he should have subbed himself off sooner. But if that's not the case and he was faking an injury, then he's, like you said, Ellie, not taking any sort of accountability for it, and he's making up something. So also,
Yeah.
too, if he really was injured, Ellie, if he was 4-0 down and actually injured, I'm pretty sure he would have subbed himself off. Almost anybody would have in those. It's a human instinct. When you're getting pummeled like that, you don't really want to stick around for the whole 90 minutes. I think if you get an excuse to leave the game, you'll take that excuse to leave the game. And he didn't have an excuse to leave the game. He just waited till halftime, maybe had a bit of a blow up, and people called him out for it. And looks like he's been outcasted, because I haven't seen him in the squad or anything since then, right, Ellie? He looks like he's gone a bit under the radar.
He's probably gone back to Nice on the beach because it's beautiful there. Right, but I just wanted to say, I wish I was a fly on the wall in that dressing room, or if there's some footage that comes out, because sometimes they do leak some footage. Somebody will be naughty at the club and leak it. So I hope that happens, because I just want to see if I'm wrong. Because I generally think I'm right. He just didn't want to come out. He's lying about the injury. It didn't cut the mustard in my book. He was just stalling, and he wasn't sincere the way he said it. He was mumbling his words. That's a sign of looking down on the ground. That's a sign of lying, because I've studied body language. I have. You want to know if your man's cheating on you, don't you?
Yeah, Hugo's just lying through his teeth.
You know what I mean? All the ladies will be with me on that one. So I
Phil
just feel he was lying.
Let's bring up our man Høiberg here, Ellie. Phil Coy's, member of the Phil Army, saying, "I'm sorry, Ellie, but I think we need to sell Høiberg in the summer and cash in on him. We need more creativity in the midfield next season." Ellie, Høiberg, I think, is still yet to find his best self again. Why do you think it is that it's been taking a bit of time for him to refine his best form?
There's two arguments to this story, right? You've got the argument that he doesn't do enough, he's not creative enough. If you look at his stats, he's third best midfielder in the whole of the league in terms of everything that he does. So that defeats that argument. And all right, he's not a James Maddison, he's not a Ericsson, he's not a Bruno Fernandes or a Guimaraes. He's not that type of player. You need all sorts of players to make a team.
Yeah.
This is my argument. You need a player who will fight for you, who will organise, who will talk, just generally get stuck in. And he's won so many balls back for us where we've been laxy-daisy, and I don't know, he's a funny player, Høiberg. He can have brilliant games and then he can have total rotten games. And I hold my hands up. He has had some rotten games this season, but he's had some very, very good games as well. So it swings and roundabouts with Høiberg. I like him because that's the type of player I would have liked to have played with, because he'll do all the legwork. But did you see, right? People say that he's not creative, he's not this, that, and the other. But did you see he was busting his gut to get up front when Kane made that beautiful ball to Kane? He made himself available. And by him running, distracted that defender, and he was looking at Høiberg, and he took his eye off Son, and Son scored. So there's lots of things that he does that goes unnoticed that I notice. I know a lot of fans who don't like him, they won't give him the benefit of the doubt, all right, because they just think he's bang average. But I like those little details in matches that can get you back in matches and actually win you matches. and you need that type of player. We need a creative, that's for sure. I won't argue with anybody in the chat about that, because we do. We need someone like an Eriksson, like a Guimaraes, like a Maddison to come in and put their foot on the ball and control the midfield with us, like Fernandes does for Man United, but without the moaning, because I hate that. Oh, he was
Tyler saying you just can't play a duo of Skip and Høiberg.
No,
is that maybe
I
part
agree
of the
with that,
reason why we're
Tyler.
not seeing the best version of Høiberg? Is that he's alongside Skip
Yeah.
and maybe they're too similar to each other and that sort of thing?
Yeah, but I think slowly, it's a very slow progress, because Skip is very similar, but slowly they're getting to know what Bentancur and Høiberg used to do, because Høiberg was coming forward and he'd done quite a few shots that were off target, I must admit, but at least he made them.
Yeah.
And they are too similar. I think what he should do is probably let Høiberg have a little rest, right, because he deserves it, and put Sarr and Ollie Skip in for now. I don't know how far up Basuma is off getting back, but if he's nearly getting fit, maybe put him in as well. Try a few other combinations.
Be nice to see somebody
but
back. Yeah.
Bentancur and Høiberg worked beautifully. I think we played our best football when those two were in the midfield, because they really do complement each other. But as I've seen a lot of people say that Bentancur's more creative, he's similar to Høiberg, but he just got that extra bit of class on the ball, that makes you stand up and say, whoa, that was good. Like when he pivots and turns, Høiberg hasn't got that in his locker. He's more like time on the ball when he thinks. Sometimes he overthinks, right? But Bentancur, I like him.
I think we're Høiberg
to be back.
I think Høiberg's passing range is unfairly criticized, because I think he does have a really good passing range and he is able to switch play really well. He is able to break the lines. Where I think recently, Ellie, he's been letting people down, or people are seeing his limitations, is like what you said. Sometimes the way he receives the ball on the half turn, or he doesn't receive the ball on the half turn maybe enough, right?
Yeah,
it feels
I
like he
agree.
kind of often struggles to have the confidence or even the ability to turn and look upfield like a Moussa Dembele would, like a James Maddison would, like an Eriksson would. And maybe that's part of the reason why some people are sort of getting a bit disillusioned with Høiberg, is they want to see somebody who's able to do those silky turns like Bentancur and like that.
Yeah, true.
Right?
He needs to go and do some Brazilian samba dancing to move those hips, because he's rigid in the hip.
Should head there this summer. That's a summer vacation with the missus, you think? You should head there?
Yeah, you should go and learn, do a bit of samba. That's my tip for Høiberg.
Nice.
But you've either got it or you haven't. That's what I think. How much samba dancing that he does? That was a joke. He hasn't got it to turn quickly. He hasn't got that in his locker. He's a different type of midfielder. He's a competitive midfielder. He'll fight for you. He'll talk. He'll do a lot of running that other players won't put in. That's what you need sometimes. And
never too late to learn the samba, though. The samba. Never too late for him.
Never too late, but I don't know if it's going to improve those hips. It might do. It might loosen them up a little bit. Yeah.
Get some Shakira songs in there. He'll be fine.
Yeah. I think I wanted to mention Kulusevski as well.
Go ahead.
Because he came on and he was so good. He's not very good with his right foot. We know that, because he skied one past the post. It wasn't a very good shot. But when he came on, we had that bit more guile going forward, bit more direction to our play. We switched our play a lot. He linked up really well with Porro. It was very, very good off the bench. And I hope that Mason sees that, because I think at Anfield he'll be up against Trent Arnold, I think. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
See, I think he's got the better of Trent Arnold, and it'll give us
he's
more
been
of a
moved
chance.
into midfield a bit more recently, Trent, because I think they know that he has that defensive liability. I'm curious as to how he would play against us, Trent, because I thought he played really well against Forest when I watched him move into midfield.
Yeah, he did.
But still, Ellie, they conceded 2 goals, to Forest, who
I know.
let's be honest, like, do struggle to score goals. So I think it shows that Liverpool if they're probably a better side than us. But I do think they have the exact same problem we do, where they'll concede. They will concede goals, it looks like, just like we do.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious which defense. It's kind of like a Man United thing. I think it's like which defense will be the worst, which defense will suffer more.
I think with Liverpool, they've got more match winners, and overall, technically, they're better than us. But what we'll have to do is match them on intensity and pressing. Because I think if you press Liverpool up top and put them off their game, don't let them get their passing game going. You've got half a chance to get a victory there. I saw Leeds play against them, and they did exactly that. And Fulham earlier in the season, when they drew 2-2 at Fulham, they did exactly the same. And Fulham were very, very unlucky not to beat them. So you have to match them, because in the end, they've got Jota, they've got Gakpo now firing on all cylinders. They've got Salah. They've got Firmino's cursed player, isn't he? Always scores against us. And then they've got defenders that can score from set pieces as well. So you've got to be on your guard with Liverpool. If we get a draw, I'll be happy with that. But obviously 3 points would be a lot better. But you just have to make sure that you match them and put them off their game. And then you've got half a chance.
I think we can take advantage of their center backs. I think there is a chance we could get at them. But I'm with you. I think Trent is going to cause us a lot of problems. And then also from set pieces, he's going to cause us a lot of problems, because he has the best he has the best delivery in the world, basically. And
definitely.
And Van Dijk is very good in the air. They have good players for those. Yeah.
You're
right, Ellie. They'll be tough from set pieces, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, do you give us a chance this Sunday? Do you feel like you're going into it in any sense of confidence, or are you just not really expecting much and just looking to be surprised?
No, like I said, I want us to go there with intensity, both halves. Then we give ourselves half a chance. I can't see us winning. The best I see we can get is a draw. Yeah. The only way we're going to win is if Kane and Sonny turn it on, and they play a worldie, both of them. Yeah. That's the only way I can see us getting all 3 points.
Well, if Kane and Son played as well as they did against Man United, would that be enough, or would one of them need to play a little bit better?
But both halves.
Both parts. Yeah, both halves.
And they had that lovely connection yesterday, because it was lovely to see Kane playing some beautiful balls in there for Sonny. The first one didn't quite catch it right. He sort of hit him wrong and it went past the post. The second one, he scuffed it in, really, but at least it went in. That's the main thing. But I think those two hold the key, because our defence, not good at all. No.
Ellie, any final topics or words that you want to say? And also as well, Ellie, I mean, what would you like to plug as well, maybe for this weekend? Put in THFC Till I Die. Is there something else we need to as well?
THFC Till I Die. We had our fan show this afternoon with me, Philip and Mia. Mia dropped off after a little while to let KVP come on. We would have liked more people to come on, but KVP came on and he gave us the lowdown as usual, who lit the dogs out and all that. THFC Till I Die. Dermot's having a day off today, I think. You never know with Dermot, because he might call me up at 9 o'clock and say, "Come on, Ellie, we're doing the stream." I love it when he does that. And we've got some exciting shows coming up. I don't know if anybody saw THFC Till I Die with Dermot pouring out his heart. I want my Tottenham back. That was a beautiful stream. If you haven't seen it, everybody, please tune in, give it a like. THFC Till I Die will give you all the lowdowns this year and next season. So, and then we've got the Women's World Cup coming up, so that's exciting as well. And some of these women, they're top draw footballers, man. They're really good. And not only they're really good, they play with great intensity as well. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Nice.
Hopefully England will do very well again, like they did in the Euros.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be watching that this summer with the missus, Ellie.
Yeah, it'll be great. USA have got a very good team. Yeah.
We do often. We have a stronger one than the men's. That's for sure. Yeah, our women's team we take a lot of pride in, definitely. So we'll see how we fare.
The men should be taking what the women take,
Oh, absolutely. I think they definitely could be showing them, a few lessons. Especially they have the winner's mentality. I would say the women's team over here. I think they're actually going through a bit of a rebuild though of some kind. Like they had that domination period, and now they're a little bit weaker. I think this. And I
want to big up Mia show. Spurs Between the Lines, fantastic show, Mia. Keep up the good work. I'll be tuning in if I can wake up at 8:45. That is. Otherwise, I'll watch it later. And she's doing a grand job. Not many women are doing streams nowadays, are they? So keep up the good work. She's very regular, always on spot with all her comments. So that's my Greek compatriot. Come on. Yeah.
Come on.
And big up the IrishHotspur, the best in the land. Come on.
Thank you, Ellie. Thank you, Ellie. Appreciate your help. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate your patience. Also, I know you waited very patiently to come on. And also, everybody, do head on over to Ellie's channel, THFC Till I Die. Alrighty. See you soon, Ellie.
Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
Have a good Friday, Ellie. All right, everybody, show Ellie some support. I'm going to put THFC Till I Die in the link there. A bit of a funny one, though, is that I do have to take a bit of a restroom break, so I might just take 2 minutes here, everybody. I apologize to those in the back end, but I do have to kind of desperate to take a piss here. So I'm going to be gone for about 2 minutes here. I'm putting in Ellie's link there. No excuses now. Anybody grab a drink yourself, do whatever you need, and come back and join me. But since I am alone, I have now reached the limit where I am going to have to dip off camera for at least 2 minutes here. So I do apologize, everybody. It's quite unprofessional of me, but I think it's the best way to do it with all the guests we still have left, because I think we have around 2 to 3 guests still back in the queue. I'm not sure if I'd be able to make it that long. So I want to do them a good service and still have a good sort of chat with them. Don't want to rush them too much. So I thought I'd be, kind to them. But everybody, yeah, definitely, Mia. We'll do, everybody. But everybody, see you back in like a minute or so, I promise. All right, and we're back. Sorry about that, everybody. Hopefully you grabbed something to eat. Hopefully you maybe were doing the same thing as me. I'm not too sure, but Eric Dyer, had to wait in line for him. He's still finishing up before I got in there. But everybody, we're going to keep powering on. If you haven't already, do smash that like button. Please keep getting your comments in here. We're doing this solo today, but hopefully you have been enjoying it thus far. Get your comments in. Feel free to support us with the super chat. Grab a membership of your own if you feel like it. But we're going to keep pushing on here, everybody. Do really thanks everybody for your patience, though, with everything. It's quite fun to chat with you guys, while doing the business. But we're going to go on to, I believe, Ash Maddock is next year. Let's bring on Ash. Yes,
Ash
sir.
Measy. Yes, my bro. Welcome, Jack. You good?
I am all good, my friend. Refreshed. All refreshed now. Feeling
you know
good.
what? I did the same thing. When you said I'm going to take a toilet break, I was like, you know what? Let me just take a little tinkle myself.
Yeah,
no
sometimes
hands, no
check
hands.
in. You gotta check in with yourself. And I did wash those hands, Mia. Don't you worry. That's why I was taking my time. Did wash those hands. But everybody, we're gonna chat to Ash here, and he's a good tactician. Where do you want to start, Ash? Do you want to talk about the Man United game?
Yeah, why not? We could talk about the first half.
This is the question I had. Is 2-2 a fair result, considering we could have been well out of it in the first half?
Yeah, I think they didn't punish us. I think with Spurs, we showed them way too much respect. However, I do understand why Mason kind of went to a almost like a 5-4-1 shape, where he was a bit more defensive, a bit more conservative. After a 6-1 drumming, he didn't want to concede any more goals. Seeing the way we play with a back four, knowing our personnel, I think he wanted to steady the ship. And I think he resulted to instead of going into a pressing type of shape, where we're more pressing and we're trying to, force them to make errors and mistakes, we're kind of sitting off them, allowing them possession, but we were staying compact centrally, which kind of forced them out wide. And I think Mason's approach was, if they go out wide, they're further away from the goal. And I think when they did come in the center, I think that's when we tried to kind of, stop the passing lanes and try to block them and limit it to them to having any chances in the box. Because the more chances you have in the box, the more chance you have of scoring a goal. So I think that was his game plan. And then I think he wanted to do the counter attack, where we create chances, we hit them high up. When their defense, they're only going to defend with two, because they're pushing all of their players into our half. So when they've only got two centre backs, they're more vulnerable to the counter attack. So I think that was his game plan going forward, just off the back of Newcastle. I didn't think he was going to go back to a back four. I know loads of fans wanted a back four and they wanted more attacking football, but you got to understand the mentality and just the frame of mind of where the players are at and where the coaches are at. You have to respect Man United. But at the same time, like I said before, I don't want to waffle on too much. I think he showed Man United way too much respect. And that defense could have been got at a lot more, especially in that first half. And I think when you have that negative outset or mindset and you're inviting pressure on, you're going to concede a lot more shots and goals. And I feel like the difference between us and them is they play to their strengths. And they normally, what they do with their wing backs, they normally invert. I don't know if you've seen a lot of the top 6 teams, they've got some type of wing back that inverts a lot. So normally what they do is they invert a Wan-Bissaka and they'll invert Dalot to make extra bodies in the midfield, which will allow Bruno Fernandes and Eriksen to play. I call it in between the lines. So that's in between the defensive line and the midfield line or your attacking line. So you're in between that kind of space. So when you're in between that space, you find it easier to pick out passes to your attackers, or you find it easier to shoot. So I don't know if you remember that Old Trafford, they kept picking off shots at us. I remember when we went out to
they
Old
had
Trafford.
28, I think, was like some record or something that season. Yeah,
exactly. And that's basically where it was. And I think, again, that happened. It's constantly saw Eriksen picking up the ball. And what our double pivots try to do, their double pivots in Høiberg and Skip, we try to press them. But Eriksen's so good, the first time ball, he would do a first time ball. Exactly.
And he would break the lines. Yeah, he was the one breaking the lines from deep. And he would often get it into Rashford, Bruno, Sancho. He had so many choices of players, and they all dropped deep in between the center backs. Because also we saw even at one stage, felt like Eric Dyer was like trying to help out like kind of the midfield, because he started stepping out right? A lot to try to win the ball high up, but then he just kept missing those tackles, which then just made it so that Rashford turned, was able to get it to Sancho. Even look at actually their first goal, even with Sancho. I think if I'm not mistaken, it all kind of starts from basically Eriksen, right, breaking the lines, I believe, in kind of the way he did from like a deeper position. And was Ten Hag, do you think, making a mistake by taking off Eriksen then? If you feel like Eriksen was the one dominating midfield, he brought on Fred, I believe. Was that a mistake on his behalf?
So basically, with Eriksen, he is excellent of where he is on the pitch and where his players are on the pitch. And I call that awareness. He's got excellent awareness. He will do a no-look pass. You know, like what Emerson tries to do and gets it so wrong? Well, Eriksen's actually mastered it. He's like the master of no-look pass. So he was getting balls into him, and Kane does it very well. Doesn't even look, and he will spread the ball, and it'll be like a diagonal into the space or into feet. He's really good at that, and that's what sets the attacks off. If you take a touch like Høiberg, when the ball comes into Høiberg takes less risks, and Høiberg needs to be facing forwards. And a lot of the time, he's facing his teammates, so he's looking at a centre back, or he's looking at a fullback or a wing back, or whoever, or a skip. And sometimes they're either close to him or they're in a position where they're further back in the pitch. They're not actually forward. If Høiberg's got the ball and he's facing forward and he's facing more attacking teammates, you'll see the stats. Out of his stats, he has completed the most long balls in a Spurs shirt. So his strengths are actually long passing, but it's just the positions he takes up and his first touch and his willing with risk, is how he deals with risk and how he perceives it, is what he does with the ball. And a lot of the time, he plays a lot further back out of the two double pivots. He's the one always closer to the centre back. So
do you agree with what I said then, that Høiberg has maybe a better passing range than people give him credit for, but where people do get frustrated with him is that he's never really picking it up on the half turn to be able to, you know, like Eriksen, you said, did. Eriksen picks it up on the half turn, breaks, you know, the lines like within one or two touches, right? You just don't see Høiberg do that as much. He needs time on the ball. He needs to pick up the ball facing, it feels like, the opposition, and then he can kind of go to work, but he's not going to be the guy that's just going to, you know, dummy it through his legs, skill past two players and break the lines after that. And that's where I think people do get frustrated, because they feel like he could turn, he could be a bit more positive, but he's, you know, more reluctant to do so because maybe he doesn't back himself, you know, to always be able to do that either. I think he maybe even knows his own limitations. I think Høiberg, maybe he feels less comfortable receiving it on the half turn like maybe other midfielders can.
I think that's the difference between him and Bentancur, and that's why Bentancur complements either Høiberg or Skip. But when you've got two similar players playing in a similar position, that's what happens. A breakdown with Høiberg, he hasn't got the technical ability, he hasn't got the feet or the fast feet to get out of situations when he gets pressed. So if you get two or three players around him, it's like he panics. He's one of those players that panic. That's why you see him pointing a lot and flapping his arms all the time, because when he gets put under pressure, he panics. He's not one of those players that look calm. When Bentancur gets the ball, he looks like it. When you look at all the top players, even Kane, Eriksen, they look like they've got years and time on their hands. They look like they could touch, they can open their body up, they can swivel, do the half turn, like what you're talking about, and they can pick a teammate that's quite short, pass, or they can dribble. So they've got multiple options. Whereas Høiberg hasn't got that lateral movement. He hasn't got that hip mobility. He hasn't got that natural athlete, and that's the reason why we were looking at someone like Basuma, because he's got more of that, or Asar, because they've got more of that natural, like athletic kind of, I don't know, skill set in their
or
boat.
Even like you said, to break the press. Like Sean Maddox says, he doesn't break the press, he turns backwards too often. And then he says, so that's why he doesn't pair well with Skip, because Skip is probably a bit too similar too, where Skip maybe is going to struggle to be able to have that confidence to turn and look upfield always. He's also going to maybe look for someone else to just kind of sideways pass it to. And that's where Høiberg, we've seen the best version of Høiberg when he has someone that can help break the press with him, that is probably better than him at also breaking the press. If Høiberg is the one we're relying on to break the press, we're going to see probably a worse version of Høiberg, and we're going to see, you know, him kind of struggling. But if he's not the one that we're asking to always be breaking down the press and being able to receive it under pressure, he'll start to look a bit better and you play more to his strengths, I think. So it's maybe the case that he's proving to just be limited. Like he's proving to be that if Bentancur is gone, there's actually not, and Basuma is also gone. There are very few players that can break the press and break that bit of pressure, and he's not one of them, it looks like.
It's the reason why Spurs struggle to play it out from the back at times. It's because the pass is always on, but Høiberg doesn't always trust himself to make that pass, if that makes sense. Sometimes there's a difficult pass to make. He doesn't really trust himself. So what he will do is he will pass backwards onto a centre back, onto one of the wing backs. And then that creates more pressure and that forces mistakes. And that's what players do. They look for like a trigger press. They might press one of the double pivots. We pass it back into our wing backs. And then before you know it, we're dispossessed. And it's a one-on-one situation or a two-on-one situation where a lot of the time where Man United will get enjoy on the left-hand side, especially for the goal against Sancho. What they did well was that they got Dyer on one side who played wide. Remember I said the fullbacks, instead of them inverting, they went wide. So what happened was you saw players like Sancho and Anthony, they were able to invert a lot more as wing forwards. And so you had 2-on-1s. Not only that, Eriksen moved along to that side. So you had 3 players, and then Rashford moved along to that side as well. So you had 4 players on one side. So did you notice when the ball went across from Rashford and Skip tried to intercept it and Høiberg didn't quite get there? As soon as that ball went over, you had about 4 or 5 defenders all on one side trying to defend that Sancho goal. And Sancho was still able to cut inside. Romero wasn't close enough to him. Porro wasn't close enough to him. And they were able
if
to
anything,
score.
I think was the one most at fault because it initially breaks down. Høiberg kind of lets that pass through. He lets that pass through his sort of section of the midfield. He misses, I think, sort of a chance to win it back. Skippy tries to win it, also misses it. And then Rashford plays it to Sancho. But Sancho I actually don't think should have had nearly as much space as he did because Porro, for some reason, was like tucking further inside when he should have been actually pushing further outside. He had all the support around him actually that he needed. But for some reason, he decided to like drop back and drop in and drop deep when he really didn't need to. And then that actually afforded, I think once Sancho had that space, he made his mind up what he wanted to do with it. And that's probably what made it such a kind of a class finish was Porro gave him that space. Sancho, with given that space, was like, all right, I'm going to cut inside. I'm going to have a shot on goal. Did exactly that. Whereas if Porro just made him think twice about doing that, I don't think that goal goes in, actually. I think Sancho would probably question maybe cutting inside, would maybe hold on to it slightly longer. So hate to say this, for me, I actually think the majority of that goal falls actually on Porro's kind of behalf.
There's 2 things.
It didn't look like we still should have conceded from that moment. Like there was still plenty of defenders back there. We didn't need to concede.
It's 2 things. It's 2 things, Jack, because when you've got Dalot making a run on the outside, that makes your decision making think twice. Porro's like, do I go with the runner or do I stay inside? And it's that split decision where Sancho's used that runner for him to come inside. That split second, he's used that. And because no one's closed the space to kind of block the shot or block the angle or put him under pressure to force a mistake, that's what's happened. And like I said, because there's been an overload on one side, it's shifted our team that way. Do you understand? Because our team shifted that way, now we've got an overload of players like, lopsided. So Bruno Fernandes, if you saw, was able to get in that box. Anthony was able to get in that box as well. So it's a tactical thing that Ten Hag has actually employed. He said, I'm going to overload him this side, and that's going to create a lot of space on this side in the middle. And that's the reason why they were getting so much joy. After that goal, they were dominating so much possession because, again, like I said, Bruno and Eriksen, they were in between the lines. They were breaking the lines. They were just able to sit in front, and no one was able to pick them up because you've seen it time and time again that when we shit our pants here, it's Høiberg gets nervous and Skip, they sit in the back line of the back 3, so we make a back 5. It looks so unorganized. So no one's actually protecting the space where the danger is. No one's actually picking up the space. We don't need 5 players essentially in the back line or
standing lateral and parallel to each other. There needs to actually, do you feel like, I agree with what Sean Maddox is saying here, that there needs to be a center back that can sort of step out, I think is what he's sort of saying, right? A center back that, he sees that gap between the midfield and the defense. He fills it, right? He picks up that guy that's sitting in between. He sees a Bruno, because you saw Eric Dyer. It's like he was trying to do it, but because he's a terrible defender, he was just doing it way too late. And so he kept missing those challenges where they would get it into a Bruno, they got it into like a Sancho or a Rashford, but he then just missed the challenge and then they would be able to spin us. But I think the ideal was right in the first place, was to sort of be that more proactive defender. I think in order for the back three and the back five to work, you do need more aggressive defenders. You need more defenders that are willing to step out and make life uncomfortable, because you aren't going to be able to always dominate the midfield. You might be a man down in the midfield, but where you can help out is a guy like a Romero, who's all of a sudden, pressing further than you might think. You have someone step out and be able to help out the wing backs. It just feels like too many guys are too happy to stand right next to each other and expect someone else to put on the pressure and expect someone else to make the challenge for them. There are too few people that are eager to make a challenge. And I think that's part of the reason then why it looks like we're always sitting back, because there's no one that really wants to even make a challenge in the first place.
And Jack, just to add to that, I think what it is, I'm going to make a blanket statement and just say it's confidence. It's confidence, because if you believe you're going to get in front of your man and you can see it early, and as you said before, proactive, you're going to step out early and you're going to intercept because you can see it happening from a mile away. But because the distance as well between you and the opposition is too far, you're not able to make that decision. You're not able to get out there far. You're not able to like look at where the opposition's going to strike the ball with what leg, and then you can stick your leg out to block a shot or block a pass, which is going to be a key pass or an assist to one of their front line, to one of their forward players. And that's what it's about. So because we're not confident at the back, we're not confident at the forward. And you saw that also with Richarlison. Richarlison, he's that type of player where he kind of needs to fight his way into a game, and he needs to be a bit of aggressive. And that's the reason why you saw him falling down a lot or getting a foul and getting underneath the players' skins. Do you know what I'm saying? Certain times it was to win us a free kick up the ball, high up the pitch. So it was a tactic. But certain times he's trying to get underneath their skin and like he's trying to turn them. And a lot of the time our attack came from the left-hand side, not from the right-hand side where Sonny was at. And then for me, it was just a final third when Richarlison needed to shoot because he lacked confidence, like we do at the back. He lacked confidence in his finishing. So instead of him shooting when he had his chance, he passed across when he should have shot, and it was a poor cross. And then the time that he pulled it back, and when he did pass it to Son, it was a little bit behind him, and Son was like, "Oh no, I ran in the wrong position." But it's just like those small decision making. If you're confident, you're not going to make that wrong decision because you're confident in your ability, and you're
assured of yourself. Yeah.
Even with Perisic came in. And he kind of gets the ball, he dribbles. Instead of him dribbling up into field and saying, look, I'm going to crack on, I'm going to put it on my right and I'm going to smack it. I'm going to hit the bottom corner.
Sitter.
That's what I'm saying. That chance I'm talking about, that's the chance I'm talking about. He came inside, but instead of him coming inside a little bit more and being more centered, he pulls out wide. And because he pulls out wide, he goes onto his stronger foot, his left foot, but he hits it straight at the keeper instead of cutting across.
Anybody that I feel like has seen Perisic score, though, that's what he does. Like that's how he fakes people out, is that people know he can hit it with both feet. And so he'll cut inside, then take it back towards the outside. And then he'll usually slap it across goal and with his left. And I've seen him do that countless times for the likes of Inter, Wolfsburg, wherever he's been. He's been quite good at that, at like scoring goals like that manner. But this is where it's been. I think it is confidence, because if he was a confident player, he would have hit that on the floor and would have hit that into
right
the
in the bottom corner, right side netting. That's
because he's unconfident. He hits it as hard as he can straight into the keeper.
And also, but because of the position he's been playing this season, he's been instructed to stay out wide, press high, pull high, and just get crosses in. He hasn't been told to kind of slightly invert and attack the box. And like
he got a lot of good crosses in the last match, I would say. I did think
he did. But I just think as a job role, like he's like 100%. Every game he pushes up wide and he hugs that touchline. He gets chalk in his boots. But I never really see him go across the byline and cut it back for one of his players, or cut it back. You know what, like Kulusevski does? Sometimes he gets to the byline and he cuts across and then he hits it with his left boot, or then he cuts across and then he passes it. He just switches it up a bit. Perisic does the same thing every single time. So when he got into that space, it was almost like unfamiliar territory. So when he did have that chance, because it's been such a long time, he didn't know whether to hit across or he just went for power and he just hit it straight at the keeper. But that was my opinion of the first half. I just think we showed him way too much respect. And when Eriksen got on the ball, he was the difference. And I think when in the second half, as soon as they took him off, and I think it was Ten Hag saw that they were getting a bit tired, because As soon as we pushed up the pitch, we showed them less respect, and we started doing playing to our strengths, which is attacking. We got our fullbacks, our wing backs really high, and our front three were interchanging. And Kane received the ball a lot deeper. He was able to pull the strings, and he was our player. He was our Eriksen. Do you know what I mean? He was able to feed our top players. As soon as that happened, we saw Eriksen wasn't getting close to our players, because defensively Eriksen's not that good. Pressing he is, but he's a lot older now, so he's not able to press in the same way he was when he was younger, and he's just not a tackler like that. So after that extra time performance against Brighton, he thought, let me take off Eriksen and bring on some legs in the Brazilian Fred. And Fred had an awful game, in my opinion. Decision making was terrible, and he just wasn't able to get on the ball. His energy was there, but his application wasn't, and I think that was the difference. I think we had a lot more heart and desire, and I think that's what kind of made the fans get up off their seats and get behind the actual team, because our players were a lot closer to the goal and the defenders were a lot closer to the goal. We were showing a lot more bravery, even though Eriksen got beat by that ball by Rashford. Rashford had the one-on-one, and obviously at that time in the first half we actually pushed up, and that's why Rashford was able to have that one-on-one. But credit to Mason. He said, you know what, F it, let's just go for it. We've got nothing to lose. We're 2-0 down. And I think sometimes that's what happens with Spurs. We need to go like a goal or two down for us to be like, you know what, fuck it, let's just go for it. Let's just throw the boss at it. And that's the reason why we were more front-footed when we went a goal down. When we went 2 goals down, we were a lot more able to push up the pitch.
I think you're probably right that Mason did show them too much respect in the first half, and then in the second half kind of went against that and realized that there is something to play for here, and that we can create chances and hurt this team. And he started to express more, and he also made some good substitutions. Maybe my last question for you then is from 279 here. He's saying, Ash, do you feel like Danjuma coming on made a difference? Mike almost fell. The other substitutions he made, do you feel like he was showing that he knows how to make the right tactical or personnel changes? He knows how to make the right personnel changes, it looks like, Mason.
I think this was the biggest thing for Mason, and the biggest difference between him, Stellini, and Conte, that he was able to... I think the fans have been calling out for ages that we make substitutions around the 60th minute, because that's exactly what happened. The 60th minute, he's brought on Danjuma, and boy, did we need it. Danjuma's come on, and he just wanted to be involved. Danjuma was just like one of those, those Duracell adverts when you put the battery in the bunny. And he's just like excited to be on, like, here's my chance. His pressing from the front enabled us to push forward and enabled us to win the ball high back up. I think that was the reason why Romero wins that header, because they decide to go long. They're no longer playing out from the back. So I agree with 279. Big up 279 with that one. I think the ball's coming to Romero. Romero's won the header because they tried to go long, because they can't pass that from the back, and it's gone into Kane, and then Kane's fed that ball into Sonny, and Sonny scored that goal. But even before that substitution, like, we've obviously scored the goal to get to 2-1, and we've been more front footed. I think that was down to the halftime talk from Mason, saying, look, at the end of the day, guys, we need to play as a team, and we're all men. That's the key thing. We're all, like, there's no hiding. We're not boys anymore. Like, we've come from a 6-1 drubbing. It can't get any worse. What's the worst that can happen? We're at home. Let's give this fan base a reason to cheer us on. And I kind of like that comment when he said, like, we're all men. I thought, like, that was a big stand up in Mason's comments right there. But basically, I thought, with Danjuma coming on, we were a lot more energy pressing from the front. And then when Kulu came on, I thought that was a good substitution. Again, I think just freshening things up again. I think that was the 65th minute. He come on, he's actually pushing for the win, making positive changes. And then I thought the actual Ben Davies, I thought that was brave taking Perisic off, because Perisic normally sees it out for the full 90 minutes, but he can see that his legs he's getting a bit leggy, he's getting a bit tired. And he thought, right, let me bring on Ben Davies. And some might say it was a back 5, and some might say, maybe it was a back 4. And we went to a 4-2-3-1, because Kane was playing so deep. When he was playing deep, he was that out ball. We were able to give a ball into Kane, and we knew we weren't going to lose possession. And there was a time when that first ball where Sonny should have put it in the back of the net, Kane actually dribbled past 2 players, and he literally dropped a shoulder. He was physical. He faked it like he was going to pass it to Cooley, and then dropped a shoulder, then passed it through, and the way it passed was perfect. But it's just him actually holding up that ball. When you've got a player who can hold up the ball, it just allows runners left, right, and centre, and that's what you need. And that's what Spurs are missing. Because I think Kane would score 10 times more if
he had another guy he could rely on to hold up the ball.
To hold up the ball. You see what Brighton do? They've got 2 attacking midfielders, and they always drop when they're playing out from the back. It's normally like McAllister and Gross. They normally drop in the 2 holes, and they're able to stick it into them. Just throw the ball to them, it just sticks to them, and that allows players to run forward. And they have like 3 or 4 players.
It's actually what makes even Brentford so effective, right? Is Ivan Toney is a bit similar to Harry Kane. I mean, Brentford probably wish they probably wish they also had like kind of like we did, like another guy that could take a bit of that burden away from Ivan Toney. But it's a bit of the same thing where it's like they have a guy that is exceptional at holding up the ball with any type of pass, hospital pass into his chest, into his feet. He will hold it up. He will hold it up better than most. And then what you need is then runners off of him to be able to open up the defense. But often the case is that if you don't either have those runners, or if people are very keen on that pass into a Kane or a Toney, then you need someone else to be able to take up that responsibility. And I think Spurs don't have that guy, and probably Brentford don't even have that guy either, to be honest. But they have more of an excuse not to have that guy than we do.
This leads up to my thing, right? Everyone's scared of Kane going, right? And Kane's been an amazing servant for us.
Could Richarlison do this, says Joseph?
I don't think Richarlison has the passing ability that Kane has. The weight of pass, Richarlison hasn't got it, and the long ball as well. I don't think Richarlison has it. But definitely, Richarlison can progress us up the field a lot. He can do things. He needs to improve. He needs a lot more games. He needs a lot more confidence. I think centre forward positions better suited to him, because I think we kind of did Richarlison dirty by recruiting him and playing him out in the wide positions and not giving him a 10. He's had no 10, and then we're expecting Richarlison to see the best out of a striker that's getting no service. And that goes for all of our forwards. They've got no one to supply them. Harry Kane, like I said before, had he had a Maddison behind him, or even Eriksen was on a free. Like if he had someone just threading balls into him from deep, then he could actually score a lot more goals. Do you know what I mean? Because our tactic at the moment is to get the balls to the wing backs, which all the oppositions know. We're not getting enough players into the box, and that's the reason why we're not scoring more goals. Even though we're like the 3rd or 4th highest scoring team in the league, we still haven't. It's still been drab football because of the tactics and the style of football. But I just feel Mason did do it well. I have to give him a bit of credit against Liverpool. It's going to be a different type of headache because, like I said before, with the fullbacks in Trent Alexander-Arnold, they're comparing him to De Bruyne because there's a good reason. Because he's actually got he's either on par with him at the moment in terms of assist, or he's outdoing them. I think in Europe he's like one of the. In terms of touches, no, not Porro. I'm talking about Liverpool game. Sorry, I just switched over to Trent. Sorry, I switched over. Sorry. I'm just saying, like in our game against Anfield, against Trent Alexander-Arnold, when he inverts into that midfielder role, and he's going to be doing what Eriksen or De Bruyne does in that space, in that midfielder space. He's able to open up the pitch. He's maybe able to make the pitch super wide, so he can pick out someone like Gakpo centrally, or he can pick out what's his face, Jota or Salah pulling wide, or even Robertson. Robertson would make a dart and run, and they've got 4 players in attack, and he's able. So for me, I would stick a Richarlison, like one of the strikers, on Trent, because you need to stop that ball from coming in. You need someone to kind of throw him off to stop those balls from coming in. So that's what I would do, me personally, on that Liverpool situation. They have got 2 players that are tricky, because Gakpo plays as a false 9, but he likes to drop off a little bit as well. And then they've got that player they got from Bayern Munich. I forget his name. That technical midfielder they bought.
Thiago,
really good on the ball, really good playmaking. And I don't know whether Skip and Høiberg are going to have to press against him and Henderson to kind of stop them from kind of transitioning the ball. But if we get a player, like I said, on Trent, we might have some joy. But I'm worried about a player like Nunes coming on, you know, with like 20 minutes to go. Jota comes off and Nunes comes on. He's going to have bags of pace to run at Porro.
Strength.
And he's going to be able to strengthen all that. And it's going to give Dyer some headaches or Longley some headaches, something to think about. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's just
the one thing that scares
to...
me. The one thing that does scare me about Nunez is that while I do think he's a complete donkey, I do feel like he gets so many chances. Like he is good at like finding space, finding chances. He wastes every single one of them, but he just gets into dangerous areas, and like he gets into, you know, areas where he'll cause you trouble. And the fact that we don't have a good defense, nor really that great of a keeper, makes me feel like Nunez is more likely than to cause us trouble than he would other teams, because he knows how to put himself in dangerous areas. And then if we already have a defense that's a little bit easier to score against and a little bit easier to create against than others, I could see a Nunez, like you said, making an impact sub like that. I think that's spot on.
What people don't realize as well, obviously Liverpool lost their striker in Mane, yeah, and he was a big miss for them. But I think Jota, that player, defensively, he wins the ball high up. People don't realize it a lot, but that's the biggest loss that Liverpool had with Mane. Mane used to win the ball high up. He was very competitive and used to like start a lot of Liverpool's attacks. And I've seen of recent, since Jota's come back from injury, he's been that guy for them to win the ball up, to do those sliding challenges like he used to do against Wolves. Because I don't know if you remember when it was, we played against Wolves, against Jota at home. Jota was causing us so much trouble. Oh my days. He was giving Doherty at the time, he was giving him a headache. But because he's so combative, so physical, so aggressive, he just gets that ball and he just wins it in that park. He crashes into players, a bit like what Richarlison does. But the difference is with Jota, he's got that quality to finish you off. Like he's got that very like, he comes inside and he's tricky, a bit like the other striker, that Brazilian they have. He's very like, he does that, he threads the ball, he does like little 1-2 little transitions. Firmino, that's what I'm talking about. That's what Jota does. Very good at doing that. And I think we need to watch out for Jota. He can cause us a lot of problems. I know Salah hasn't really been on it this season, but he's the person I'm really looking out for when we go up against Anfield.
Me too, man.
So,
and I have it right here. A view from the South Stand TV. I put it right here for you, my friend. This is where you can find more Ash people. Ashmatic.
Cool,
where can people find more of you, my friend? We are Tom
Yes,
TV. I know they can find you over here occasionally as well, but tell us where they can find more of your excellent analysis, my man.
Yeah, I'm based on the South Stand with a view from the South. So South View Coys, that is the YouTube. I've got some ideas I want to throw on. And basically, I as a fan, I didn't know what the hell was going on when I was watching football, right? When I was watching, sometimes I'm watching football under Mourinho or Conte. I was like, why are we playing like this? What's going on? So then I had to start watching tapes over and over again and just try to break it down and understand how Spurs play. And now I've got more of an understanding.
I do appreciate that you always try to see it from another person's lens. Like, even if you don't agree with maybe their tactical decisions, you do seem to try to put yourself in their mindset and you try to put themselves, you know, in their shoes and what they might be thinking, which is always a good thing to do, I think.
I think you have to. I mean, like a lot of the time now, a lot of the fans were asking for a back four, but Nagelsmann he can play with a back four, but he can also play with a back three. And I think that's important for the next man coming in. They've got to know how to utilize the squad that we have at the moment, because there's no guarantees that we're going to get the centre backs that we want or need, or even the centre backs that the manager wants, because we know the style of the club. We wait to the last minute to do our business because we're more opportunists rather than planning ahead, which really frustrates the fans. It really frustrates me because I want us to be forward thinking and forward planning. But we're not that type of club. We're more like a wheeler dealer kind of club. You know, see an opportunity.
True.
And then we pounce on it. Do you know what I mean? And I look at all the signings we did, and I don't see any signing where, apart from maybe Porro, but even Porro, we waited to the last minute when we could have been focusing on other deals, getting that done. And as a consequence, we're not filling players. We're not putting players that suit the system. We're just throwing players into the team. Do you know what I'm saying? We're not putting like, we need a centre back that's a bit more aggressive, but can also play at the back, that he can help Dyer, etc. Where instead we're going for like forward opportunities, we could get a striker in. I know we need to prepare for Kane, but I just feel like, in my opinion, like there's centre back. If you've got a competent centre back, you can play out from the back. If you've got a different midfielder alongside your defensive midfielder, that can help you transition up the pitch. If Kane's gonna go and there's no strikers available, why not switch the system up where, like Brighton, you've got 2 attacking midfielders and 2 wing forwards, and then maybe we switch up like we've seen it with Man City. They didn't have a striker for a while.
Yeah.
Liverpool don't have a number 9 really, if you look at it. And so like you can survive post striker if you kind of have other players that are more interchangeable. And I think fans want to see more fluidity. And I think moving forward with a guy like Naglesmann that kind of is a bit of what they call it a tinker man, I think like that would suit our tactics moving forward. Because it's going to be hard to replace a Kane, let's be honest. If he was to go, and at some point we're going to have to address the elephant in the room.
No, completely have to address it. And I think you'll be addressing it on your channel and plenty of people's channels. So that's where they can find more of the Ashmatic. Everybody, please head on over for a view from the South Stand TV. Also, please, We Are Time TV, wherever Ash is, please, everybody, support him. He's doing a great job. He's doing some good work, and he's got great things to say. Thank you, my friend. Thanks for a good chat.
I'll see you soon at BBC, Jack. That's your next job.
See you in the studio. All right, catch you, brother. See you, man.
Later.
Have a good Friday. Everybody, show Ash some support. Putting in the link one last time so there are no more excuses for you guys. Please, everybody, go show the man some support, everybody. And also those from the South Stand TV, big yourselves up. Thanks for tuning in and showing me some support. Really do appreciate you, lads. But we're going on to, I think, is our last guest of the afternoon, everybody. Been pushing on for nearly 3.5 hours here, everybody. So please, like I said, if you haven't already, smash that like button here. Been pushing on for a very long time. We're keeping it going. KPV member for 13 months saying, breaking news, we have a new name for Pedro Porro. It's no longer Pedro Porro. It's now Pedro Zorro. Come on, you Spurs. Let me know, KPV. Are you still in his prison? Are you still one of the loyal prisoners of Pedro Porro's prison? Because after that goal, I mean, I'm hooked once again, my man. I'm hooked once again on the Pedro Porro because I do enjoy what he has to bring going forward. But question marks over his defensive skills. That's definitely the case, KPV. But appreciate your support for 13 months, my man. KPV, the link was in there a long time ago, my man. I'm going to treat this as the last guest with Michael. Michael's been waiting very patiently as well. So I am going to treat this as the last guest. If maybe Dave or someone else were with me, probably would be able to do it. But I'm starting to get a little bit, kind of drained at this stage. Not, losing any energy, but, I got shit to do after this. Still got plenty of stuff to go for this Friday. And it's been already, I think, 3.5 hours. So anybody, I would say click that link sooner so that also I know that you are coming on later so I can also time manage it maybe a little bit better as well. Because sometimes I do kind of think if there's only 2 people left, I'll kind of take my time, with the last guest as well. So it's just kind of how it is. But everybody, like I said, smash that like button if you have been enjoying the fan show thus far because we've been pushing on for a while, but we're bringing in the closer, Michael. Hey, Michael.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like it's been a while since I've seen you? Why do I feel like it's been a while?
We haven't. David was on Monday,
maybe
right?
Like a week. Maybe it's been like 1 or 2 shows. I feel like since maybe I've missed you or something. Maybe I've missed you somehow.
Yeah. David was on Monday. I talked with him then, and I wasn't there on Friday because I was in UK. Last Friday, right? So
we got some stuff to catch up on here. Got some stuff to catch up on, Michael. What is it that you want to chat about first? Because usually I know you got a plan. Usually you got things you want to say. What do you want to chat about first? Man United? Something else?
First of all, I gotta say, Ash, come on, man. I was the tactician here. Now man.
Jeez, you guys need to get your own you guys should get your own podcast or something like that. I would listen to you two.
Ash is absolutely amazing when it comes to tactical views, and as you pointed out correctly, I really respect his approach to tactics, and I try to do it too, right? For me, there is no one proper way to play football, and I appreciate that he sees positives about certain formations, right? Because I feel like formation wise, and I spoke about it with David, right? Because we are wondering whether Mason will go to a back 4 or a back 3. And I said that he will probably go to a back 3 just because it's our players are more used to the formation, right? Mm-hmm. And it turned out to be true. And I actually appreciate that he did so because, listen, again, it needs to be sometimes said that it's not like Football Manager or FIFA. You can just switch tactics like that, and suddenly your team is well accustomed with the tactic, right? It takes time to develop new tactics, especially because we know that Conte didn't train back fours with
Correct.
with our team, right? It would be other thing if some of the training regimes were centered around back four, but if they have done none for like almost over a year, right? So then for me there is no point in going into back four so quickly, right? And I think that was also what killed us during the Newcastle game, right?
So you were happy. I'm with you, because I think Ryan Mason made the right decision to go to a 5-4-1, even if that's not his preferred formation, even if that's not how he even wants to play. He knew that he was limited by the players that he has. He doesn't have the best center backs to pick from, so it doesn't mean that he can just play the system he wants to play. He's going to have to make some slight adjustments for the players he has. And Michael, I know you and I have said this 1,000 times, but we probably do have to say it again here, where originally when Antonio Conte was brought in, everybody was like, thank God we're bringing in Conte, because the personnel we have aren't good enough for a back four. Everybody was saying Dyer's not good enough for a back four. People were saying Sanchez isn't good enough for a back four. Davies isn't good enough for a back four. That was the reason even people were happy with Antonio Conte, was because of that reason. And I think it's still the case probably for the rest of the season that we are going to be a more solid team with a back three. It feels like we're just going to be far more leaky, far more kind of defensively disorganized with a back four. And as sad as it may be, as boring as it may be, it's maybe a reality we have to face with kind of the guys we have back there, because we still are just as open as any other team. With a back five. Like that Bruno goal they should have scored, he just sliced right through us just easily. It was just if anything, Michael, too, I actually don't even blame Ryan Mason for putting on Tanganga in the second half, because I think how he was. Yeah, what are your thoughts on him putting Tanganga in? I've already explained myself.
I know why people kind of like feel bad about the decision, because I think United were there for the taking. In terms of you could clearly see they were really, really tired because of the Brighton game they had on the weekend, right? They played 120 minutes and penalties, whatever, right? I think we could maybe try to push for a win in that game, but I actually think from like management of the game wise, I think Mason made a correct decision, right? Because if you look at it, we were, as you said, we started as a 5-3, 3-4-3, however you want to call the formation, 5-4-1. It's all the same. It's just about moving like slightly on the pitch, right? So we started with that formation. We conceded 2 goals, which, by the way, yet again, another stream, another time we talk about it. Dyer, especially for the second goal. Come on, man! Like, put in a tackle, man. Like,
it was like the Iheanacho goal for me, just so similar. Just him, just never wanting to make a challenge, never even bothers to make a challenge, and it's as if Rashford sort of knew that, like he knew that Dyer was never going to make like any sort of attempt at him, and so he just kept taking it down the left, just kept taking it. I was even saying earlier, Michael, it was as if Dyer was like a waiter or like a host, at a restaurant. He was showing him to his table. He was just showing him where to go. It was just that easy.
The issue is that, like, technically on paper, Dyer wasn't doing such a bad job, because like Rashford is predominantly right-footed, right? So technically showing him onto his left is a good thing, right? Because in theory, it's his weaker foot, right? The issue with Rashford is that he's pretty much just as good with his left as with his right, maybe slightly worse, right? And also one thing that Rashford has is that he's so rapid and explosive with his pace, right? He can go from stop, start, right? He can, do those movements where he kind of fakes that he's going to stop and take a shot.
And
Dyer stopped, waited for his, for his reaction run, and then Rashford just bent him, and he showed like he just took the ball on his left and slapped it into the far corner.
I even think his initial positioning from when Bruno made his pass was also terrible, because Longley was covering the left side of the pitch as well, and they were kind of the 2 last men back. But then there was this huge gap off to the left that was just left wide open. And you think to yourself, like, if Rashford also as well was like standing like right behind the line so that he wasn't offside if that ball was played, it then kind of meant like, if you're Dyer, like he's going to be onside no matter what, if that ball is played. You should probably then take away that space that he's playing it into. Bruno, I think, played a peach of a pass. Like, it was a gorgeous pass.
Amazing
but
pass.
like, it felt like he could have missed it by 20 yards, and Rashford still would have gotten there because there was so much space that Dyer had left for Bruno to hit it into, that, like I said, Bruno could have missed it by a few inches, missed it by 10 yards. Rashford still would have been well and behind, because the space that Dyer initially leaves him there is just way too much, in my opinion, too. And that's also, but then he makes the mistakes that you said later, too.
It was kind of similar to situation to what happened for, I think, the 4th goal scored by Newcastle. I think it was also, and then it was even like more of an issue that they were playing in a back 4 and they forgot that there is not 3 of them back there, that just 2, right? But there is like a certain screenshot that I saw where literally Dyer and Romero are positioned as if they were playing in a back 3. You know, when we are getting, that long pass with outside of the boot, you know, that outswing pass came, and I think this was the first Isaac goal, if I remember correctly, right? And they forgot that there is no left-sided centre back there, and Perisic was way up the pitch, so it was like literally the whole pitch was open that side, right? And that's the issue, right? That I think our defense. And if you remember, I said something like similar when we played City, right? I think our defense is the best when they don't get put under pressure in terms of like being bent for pace, and when they don't have to deal with dribblers, right? So there was the City game that we won 1-0 this season, right? When we went into a complete, low block, 10 men behind the ball, and all that City could do pretty much was spam crosses into the box, right? And we pretty much manhandled Haaland in that game, right?
Yeah.
And like Dyer and Romero, they had him, covered. We didn't concede. We won 1-0, right? And as soon as we get bent for pace, and we get countered on like we did in the reverse fixture against City
Newcastle.
at Etihad, or Newcastle too, right? Then they get absolutely like rinsed. So it's just the issue with the defense. And also
we forget about their limitations. I think it's just what it is. Sometimes we'll say, like, why aren't we playing like a 3-5-2? Why aren't we playing a 4-3-3? Like, it's like sometimes we make these sort of suggestions as if we have a Real Madrid quality players to pick from. Like, it's not the case. Like, we are limited by what we have, and we are probably limited so much by what we have that there are actually probably certain shapes, certain formations, especially certain playing styles that just aren't possible, like with the players that we have. And that's something I myself forget it, because sometimes I've even said a game, like, this does seem like a game where we could make a tactical switch here or two. And it's like, yeah, we can make some tweaks, but we do think, like, it's, again, the players we do have to pick from, especially in that defense, is just not ever going to be, it's there's only so much you can do. There's only so much that you can try to, be on the front foot, because we've seen before, when you try to be on the front foot with those type of players and you try to have a high line or anything, they can concede 6 goals in 20 minutes. So it's I don't know. I even after the Newcastle game with my own watch along, I was saying I would much rather Spurs play 9 men behind the ball, because I hate watching that many goals go in that quickly. It even put out the door that people who wanted to play like how Leeds play, like, oh, I'm happy if we lose 5-3. It's like, no, you're not.
No, you're not. Yeah.
No one wants to watch 5 goals go into their own net. Like, it's horrible. It's torture.
It's I seriously think that so many issues with this team get fixed when we fix the defense, because even because we started talking about the goals that we conceded to United, right? But also look at the first goal. Porro is bad defensively. We all know it, right? But he's really good when he goes forward, right? So how do you facilitate such a player in the team? How do you make him viable, right, to play in your team? You put amazing defense behind him, so he doesn't have as many, defensive duties, right? Because if you look at it, like as you and Ash said, the first goal was pretty much his fault, right? He was way too close to Romero, and basically the whole defense got shifted to our left, United's right side, right? they all got shifted, and there was so much space on the left, on United's left side, so that Sancho could just chase the ball, pick his spot,
he made
pick
his mind up,
time
it
to
looked
shoot,
like,
and
before he even shot it. That's what actually made it, I think, such a good goal, was because Porro, I think, initially makes the mistake by, tucking inside when he shouldn't have. But then he actually comes out after him and closes down the angle and everything. But it's because he gives him that initial space. A player of Sancho's quality is then going to be able to make up his mind and execute it in that sort of way. And I just quickly, this is a slight tangent, Michael, but the reason I am not on the boat yet of giving up on Pedro Porro defensively or anything is that Pedro Porro has come from a league where he has been asked most games to probably do things with the ball at his feet, not defensively. And then the Premier Liga and the Portuguese league, he's not coming up against 80 million pound wingers every single week. These 80 million pound, 100 million pound wingers, they expose the tiniest of mistakes. They will take advantage of any little thing that you give them. You even look at De Bruyne's finish that he had against Arsenal, where he played it through Holding's legs. These are guys who are that good, where they know what you're about to do. They know you're about to open your legs, or they know you're about to move to your right, and they'll take advantage of those tiny little fine margins and mistakes. And if you're somebody like Pedro Porro, who needs a lot of work defensively, you are going to get exposed by what are incredible wingers and high quality wingers. Whereas if he's going to be coming up against, like I said, maybe more of a Primera Liga type of winger each week in, week out, there will be games where he looks more defensively solid, and there are games where he looks like he can handle himself. But if he is just coming up against the best of the best in the world every week, it's going to be a long road. He's going to make some mistakes. And I also said the same thing was true though with Emerson, where Emerson, very good, defensively, and has not struggled very much defensively, but has struggled a lot going forward against very good defensive fullbacks. It's the opposite, where it's he's coming up against the best fullbacks in the world defensively. So then Emerson's poor, attacking technique gets exposed. His lack of ability to put in a cross gets exposed. Whereas if he was coming up against easier defenders, he would actually maybe not look as actually bad going forward. It's the same principle, where I think in the Premier League, you probably have your strengths in certain areas, and then you have your weaknesses in others. But because the Premier League is the Premier League, your weaknesses will get exposed, to the finest of points. And I think it's more up to us to just have patience with a guy like him and hope that he can learn from these sort of moments, because it's the same thing with Emerson. Like I said, Emerson has improved, I think, dramatically going forward, but he still has a long way to go, I think, going forward. And I think that's where it is. You're not going to be buying the perfect. It seems to be the case that, we're not going to be buying a fullback that's terrific going forward, terrific defensively. It's hard to come by.
we can work on the issues, right? We can work on it. And that's also my point with the center backs, right? Because if you look at it, the way I look at our defense is, for me, Romero clearly doesn't trust Dyer with defensive duties. No. There is lack of respect between those defenders, right? And with the first goal, I shit you not, if Dyer wasn't there and there was a competent, central center back, not some world class, De Ligt or whoever, right? But someone who is competent. I don't know, Anderson, Connor Cody, whoever it was, right? If Romero knew that he can rely on them to defend against the central attacker, right? Then Romero wouldn't be so close to Dyer in that situation. He could, occupy the space where Porro was at. And if Romero was there, then Porro would be further, wider, right? So that automatically, fixes the issue, right? So because then Sancho would be between Romero and Porro, right? And 2-on-1 situation, it wouldn't be as easy for him to chase the ball down, have all that time to prepare the shot, right? Because they would be immediately on his ass trying to take the ball off him, right? And actually, in terms of one-on-one defending, Porro got skinned a couple of times, but there were also a couple of times where he actually defended quite well, right? So, yeah, I feel like there is room for improvement in Porro's defensive game and Royal's offensive game, right? But I am actually kind of happy with the right side of our defense, right? With Romero also.
I still have faith in it.
the issue for me is the central defender and honestly the left wing back, right? Because assuming that Perisic leaves and Sessegnon is Sessegnon, then we need a left wing back most likely.
Just quickly though on Sessegnon, just further evidence that he's done. If you didn't already need further evidence that he's done, how is it the case that Ben Davies is returning from his injury sooner than Sessegnon?
Yeah,
Ben Davies, I believe, was injured like 2 or 3 weeks after Sessegnon was, right? He picked up his injury like not at the same time, but like a few weeks after Sessegnon did. They picked up, I believe, the same injury, some type of hamstring related something, and Ben Davies has made his return sooner than Sessegnon has, and apparently it was like a very similar type of injury, like as well. So, which is just a huge concern. Like Sessegnon is made of glass. He's made of glass.
Yeah, and he's also a couple years older, right? So you could assume that it also takes longer for Davies to recover, right?
Better point. That's an even better point. Jeez, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, honestly, Jack, if you told me like 1.5 years ago that I would be happy to see Davies on the pitch, I would absolutely like laugh at you. But I was actually quite happy that he came back. I feel like he serves a real like good purpose in our team. He's not like as plenty of us have said and plenty of us have already stated, right? He's not like the best of the best, right? He's kind of an average footballer, but he's at least solid, right? He doesn't like fuck up many times, right? Whereas Dyer, he has like a couple of games where he looks really good, right? And he actually manages to do his role properly. But then he has those absolute stinkers, like he did against Newcastle, like he did against Liverpool when we played them at home, and and other situations like that, right? And I would much rather have a solid average player than a player who is sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit, right? But usually is shit, right? So I remember that you've put the question about the 6 defenders and which one of them.
Yeah, do you want to play that with me? Do you want to clear out some defenders with me? 3. I said 2 to 3. Ryan was saying that's not going to happen, but I feel like I would fly down to London myself if we couldn't ship out 2 to 3 defenders this summer. I think that's plenty possible. What are your 3 that you would get rid of?
I think Sanchez is definitely gone. I have a feeling they will try to get rid of him. It just sounds like a bent bridge. I don't know what exactly the saying in English is, right? But it's basically like the guy dropped an absolute stinker, got hooked when he was a sub, right? So his career over the years hasn't been great. So I think it's time, even for his sake, to go. I think he would be much happier if he found himself a team where he can actually have a soft reset and maybe try to like renew his career. I don't wish the guy anything bad, right? I hope he has a good career, right? Why wouldn't I? But it's just not at Spurs. I think that's it, right? That he should be gone. And I think we will try to get rid of Rodon. I don't think whether we will manage to. So for me, it will probably end in another loan. That's what I assume, right? And with others, so Langley, I'm not sure. With Langley, the issue is that we as a club showed like willingness to buy him, right, from Barca. The issue is that we don't know who the manager will be, right? I hope you have a bit of time to talk about Nagelsmann too, right? But if it's Nagelsmann and if the reports are true that he wants, assurances and he wants to have a say in transfers with his director of football, right? Then I doubt they will buy Langley, right? I'm not sure about it, right? So for me that's it, right? And that's basically Langley, right? I don't think we'll ship Dyer this season. I don't think we'll ship this summer. I don't think we'll ship Davies. Romero definitely stays, and Tanganga I think stays just because of the homegrown quota, right? Until we fill this homegrown quota with other players, Tanganga will probably be part of the squad, right? Even if he doesn't play. Shame for the kid, because I honestly feel bad for him, like being used as a number on a spreadsheet just because you have to have 8 homegrown players in the team. That's bad for him, right? Because that probably kills his career. But then again, I like, with all due respect to Jaffet, I care more about the well-being of the team as a whole than his personal career.
This might sound weird, but I'd sooner keep. I think Tanganga has been a victim of never getting a chance to develop anyplace else. So he's just been in training, and I think he's probably lost his ceiling that he might have had for potential. Feels like it's been missed because of all this time that he's had not playing any games. But what I would say is I'd sooner actually get rid of. I would love to see Dyer, Sanchez, and Rodon go this summer because I'd sooner keep Tanganga than Dyer. I'd rather have Tanganga because Tanganga keeps up that homegrown spot, which Dyer doesn't. And then also Davies, as much as people, I think Davies is a mixed one where I find myself defending Davies maybe more than I should, but then also it's the case too that I do think he is better than the other ones of Dyer, etc. So I would rather keep around a Longley, a Davies, Romero, Tanganga. All those guys, most of them aren't really good enough, but they're better than the other three. I think they're better than Rodon and Dyer and Sanchez. Those are the three I'd get rid of personally.
Yeah, definitely.
And also on Naglesmann, he had Upamecano and Kevin Vogt as well, right? Like those sort of ball playing center backs. So this summer, I really hope Dyer isn't here because I don't want Naglesmann to be convinced that Dyer could take that type of role of some kind. But
yeah, definitely. If I was his director of football, Dyer would be one of the first surnames I would try to ship out from the team. But the answer I gave you a couple of minutes ago was what I think will happen, right? It's not what I would want to happen, what I think will happen. What I would definitely ship out Rodon, Sanchez, and Dyer. That those are the three names that I want gone, right? And also the funny part is because I've made that point plenty of times when we are talking about squads, whatever, right? I feel like a healthy squad is 2 players per position, and with playing 3 at the back, you need at least 6 center backs, right, in the team to have coverage for each of the positions, right? We have 7 right now, including Rodon, who is on loan, right? And actually going to a back 4 means that you probably don't need 7 center backs, you only need 5, right? So that maybe if we were about to change, the formations and bring in a manager who plays 4 at the back, maybe that also means that we can ship out, Rodon, Sanchez, Dyer, for example, and have still 4 center backs in the squad. We only buy 1 as left-sided center back. I don't know, someone who is good in a pairing of 2, on left side, stick him with Romero, have Davies and someone else as a backup, and that actually seems quite kind of nice, right? And then you have Tanganga who can also cover right back, right? So that might work. I'm not saying it's the best solution, right? But
I'm not saying that either, but I think that is probably most realistic one for what is possible. It's about what's also possible, right? For this summer too. I don't think you can get rid of every single defender bar Romero this summer. It's just not going to happen, and it just then means which ones are you willing to tolerate for another season? It looks like which defenders are you willing to sort of swallow, your pride and just to sit through it again. And the ones I'd be willing to sit through it with are Tanganga, Davies, Longley. Those are the ones.
And Romero.
Yeah. And Romero, of course. But maybe last question then, just on maybe what I just mentioned there. Did you hear that Naglesmann is sort of leading the race, at least by the looks of things at this moment in time? Naglesmann asks a lot of his center backs. He asks plenty of them because he asks a lot of them, I think, in possession. He needs them to be very good on the ball. But then also he plays with such a high line that they can get easily, counterattacked, and they can easily get played over the top or through the lines, whatever it may be. So you need to have very good center backs on the ball, but ones that are also quick enough, I feel like, too, to be able to handle sort of a counterattack. And that's where I'm worried about a Naglesmann, because he's never really been the most defensively sound of a manager, and he requires very good center backs. So it will be interesting to see what type of center back guarantees he gets this summer.
For me, Nagelsmann and Rangnick is a dream scenario. Absolutely. You probably remember that as soon as we sacked Conte, I said, and Nagelsmann became available, I said that this is probably my first choice. I swear I didn't drink today. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm getting my words mixed up. But yeah, Nagelsmann is my first choice along with Amorim, but Amorim would have died down quickly, right? So for me, it's Nagelsmann. And again, I will repeat, it's mainly this is my choice because he plays a back three, and I don't feel like our ownership will spend enough money to transition this team from a back three team to a back four team, right? Because when you look at it, you still need to buy like one or two center backs for a back four team. You still need to buy a goalkeeper. But when you transition to a back four, that means that you need an offensive mid, and you probably need some backup for the forward line, right? So that I think it takes more transfers and more money to transition this team from a back five to a back four. So I would much rather hire a coach who plays a back three, but I try to repeat it every single time whichever show I come on. Back three can be played really offensively. It can be a really offensive formation, as Nagelsmann has proven in Bayern, right? I know that the quality of players in Bayern is way higher than at Tottenham, right? But actually, if you look at it, our front line isn't as far off of Bayern's as you would think, right?
No, I think Naglesmann walks into Spurs' situation, and I think he has to realize what he has to make do with for like a season or two. I think he looks at that midfield. He'll probably want like an addition, but he wouldn't. He shouldn't complain too much about the midfield. Shouldn't complain too much about the wing backs, and shouldn't complain too much about the forward line, where he would look at it as goalkeeper and defense. He's like, not so sure. So that's where I think he goes into it. I feel like he should be. It's not the best to work with when it comes to the midfield or wing backs, but I think it should be good enough. Like it just shouldn't be where his priorities are. His priorities should be with the defense.
And also like Nagelsmann, for me, if the club wants to be serious about something, right? If they actually like want to calm the fans down, and they have to do it, right? Because like it was first time in a long time where Levy outchants were really, really hearable during the game, right? During the 23rd minute, and I think after United scored the second goal, you could really hear those chants, right? And it will only get stronger and stronger. You have to keep in mind that it was a Thursday evening game, right? Not a weekend game. So also I think that during the weekend game it might get even louder, right? But if the situation continues to be the way it is, right? But I think if our club is serious about something, they should bring a guy like Nagelsmann who demands a certain standard. And as I said, like the way our squad is shaped and the way Nagelsmann wants to play, if they want to support him, they kind of have to spend on the defense, right? Because as you said yourself, Jack, our front line is okay, right? We have Kulusevski, Son, Kane, right? Assuming Kane stays, I think he will stay for.
He has bones to work with in other areas, and I think he just has to. He should know that like anything, you go maybe one step at a time. I don't think there's a way to go into the summer like 2-3 things that you can solve at once. I think he should just primarily focus on that back line. Maybe he gets like a James Maddison or something like that too. I mean, that would be brilliant. But it's just, I think whoever comes in, that's actually part of the interview process for me. Is like, I'd like to know what they think, needs improvements, because if they give wrong answers, then I'd probably say, sorry, no go for me. Donovan Osterreicher, I really do apologize, my man. Michael, Michael's the last guest. I kind of said it earlier as well, and I have other places to be and things like that. Got to also kind of clean up around the apartment before the missus gets home. And he says, snubbed by the Canadian men's national team over the U.S. men's national team. Come on, you Spurs. What I would say about the Canada team is that I thought you guys were probably the unluckiest side I'd ever seen in the World Cup stages, because you did not look like the team that deserved to have 0 points after the end of 3 games. If anything, you were the team that probably were the hardest done by. You gave everybody a good game, felt like Canada, everybody a good game. The US, I would say, we were a bit more boring to watch, I think, versus you guys. I thought you guys were a lot more fun to watch, if anything. So I don't know. I liked your guys' manager too. The Canadian men's team's manager seemed like he did really well with the women's team, then took the women's team and then went on to the men's team, did really well with them. So clearly they have a good manager, the Canada team.
Yeah, like USA's group was also way easier, with all due respect, right? But
way easier,
Canada had Morocco, who did madness and ended up.
Did we have? Iran and England,
right? You had Iran, England, and Wales. and Canada had, if I remember correctly, Croatia, Belgium, and Morocco. Right?
Yeah, that was a group of death.
So two semi-finalists and Belgium, right? Belgium is not like some team you can snub at, right? So even though they did really poorly during that World Cup, still they have quality players, right? So I think Canada had, what the fuck did I say? Canada had a really much harder group than USA, right? So yeah. Just
Love it, Tyler.
quickly,
yeah, go ahead, Michael. What? Yeah, maybe last thing. What's your last maybe thing that maybe you wanted to chat about, and then we can wrap this sort of show up. What's something that maybe you feel like you'd be disappointed that we didn't get to talk about?
I think, ironically, with the game against United, right? I never want Spurs to lose. I always want to cheer for the team. I always want them to win. But after we went 2-0 down, and it started getting a bit like toxic, and etc. I was just, and again, I sound like a dickhead saying that, right? But a small part of me thought that maybe if we get slapped again, that I can take it on the chin, right? Because I'm switched off watching Spurs, right? Of course, I cheer the goals, and I get emotional during the game, but in general, it doesn't really like bother me that much compared to other seasons, right? So if we got a slap in again, maybe just maybe the crowd would turn the heat a bit more, and I feel like brilliant that the team turned the match around and gave us a performance, right? Because they had to show us that that it hurt them what happened at Newcastle, right? But just in terms of putting pressure on the ownership and all that stuff, connected with the protests and whatever, it was, as I said, just that tiny bit of me that was like, maybe it would have been a bit better if we actually conceded one more straight from the get-go, right? Straight in the first half. Maybe people would wake up a bit, right? Because I had a feeling that as soon as we scored the first goal, it was all happy, cheering and whatever, right? As if the 6-1 didn't happen, right? I don't think I
think that's about striking the balance, though, because then for me personally, I don't really. No one take my opinion here seriously at all, but I think you can find that balance between wanting the ownership out and then still wanting your team to win.
Yes,
I think
of course.
and I think there's that balance that it's hard to strike it. I think it's a hard balance to strike at times, because you see your team concede a goal like Dyer does, and then you just stare up at Levy in his press box, and you just know exactly why you're going through that torture. But at the same time, I think when you then see that your team's getting back into it, you should show some support, and you should try to get them back into it. It's a tough balance, though.
You look at Levy like, mate, what the fuck? Come on,
it's a hard one.
Help a man out here, right?
And no one, and like I said, that's just my opinion. Everybody, you're welcome to slam me for it. I mean, it's just how I sort of see it. But and I agree with you, though, Michael. It's also then, just on top of that, though, then it means then the next time we have a home match, though, don't lose sight of everything. Don't just think that was a one and done, right? Keep that same pressure on Daniel Levy. Make him feel just as uncomfortable as he did during the Man United game. Keep that sort of pressure on him. Make him continue to feel that sort of, that pressure and that sort of toxicity. Let him feel uncomfortable. I'm fully for him feeling uncomfortable like that. I, in fact, enjoyed it as much as everybody else did. So I think that's what's most important, is that, you strike the balance between wanting a team to win, but also keeping that, atmosphere uncomfortable for Daniel Levy as much as possible.
Yeah, the most important thing is that, listen, I've said it speaking with David, on Monday, the protest doesn't have to mean that the ownership sells, right? It just, we as a fan base, and nobody in the chat can tell me otherwise, we all know that this club is not heading into footballing wise, right? Just with what's happening on the pitch, this club is not heading into greatness, right? And we as fans have a right, and have a right to have demands, and have a duty to show that we are not going to accept this, right? And booing, singing songs, and showing our discontent is something that can make this ownership do something. It happened with United, right? The game El Sakiko, right? We voiced our discontent. We showed that we are not happy with how the things are going, and we got counter, right? And I know maybe it's a bit, it's a bit I don't know what the word is, right? But it's just a bit entitled that we can, demand more and we get more, right? But if that's what it takes, to make this team great again, then I'm all for it, right? I said it. I'm not at the point where Daniel Levy and Inik are completely like, there is no coming back and they cannot be the owners, right? If they do things properly footballing wise, right? If they appoint a correct director of football, correct manager, listen to those guys, do what they say, right? But they of course like set the budget, and give the director of football a budget to work with, right? I'm all for it. As I said, what I want the most is clarity and plan, right? Because with it I think comes success, right? If you stick to a plan, if you stick to a philosophy, there will be success, right, at the end. But this scattergun approach, this like Chinese Chelsea that we were trying to do for 4 years, right? It's not working with me, right? It won't work because we won't spend enough money, and that's it, right, for me.
I think you're spot on, Michael. And as well, I think it was a good, thing to end on, actually, right? Is to look towards the future and how, the rest of the atmosphere should be, how our pressure on Levy should be. Started with the tactics, then we ended on the big picture, sort of stuff. But thank you, my man. Great chat as always. And thank you for closing up for me.
Pleasure as always, Jack. See you.
All right. Big man.
Have a nice day.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Everybody show Michael some love, please, in the chat. Great closer he is. Great tactician he is. Great chat as always with that man. Do enjoy what he has to say. And also, I just think he's an easy guy to talk to. And he can honestly sometimes just run the show himself. He's that good when it comes to the way that he just sort of sees the game and everything. So everybody, please thank all the guests that did a great call-in today. Like Tyler said, great call-ins today from the guests. And good work, Jack. Hope to speak with you and Dave on Monday. I look forward to speaking to you on Monday, as well as Donovan. Donovan, if you're still listening, I'm going to be speaking to you on Monday. Hopefully you're available. If not, I will make up to you on Friday, my man. I will make it up to you. I do apologize. Everybody else, as well as Spurs72, Jason Bell, Joe Phillips, Simba Ben, Mia, Sean Maddox, Bonono. So many of you brilliant folks in here in the chat. Derek Hutchinson, Andy Wen, Leslie Crawford. Good to see you all. Please, please, please hit that like button if you haven't already on the way out. Really do appreciate you guys sticking with me as long as you have, keeping me company, having a nice chat thus far. Hopefully you did enjoy the fan show. Hopefully you enjoyed what a lot of the people had to say coming on. And I think we had good chats about a variety of different things. So everybody, like I said, if you haven't already, hit that like button, please, on the way out. Tomorrow should be, I think, a podcast will be uploaded with a very special guest, kind of a secret guest, somebody you might even recognize from the chat here, who has come on with Dave and I. We recorded it on Wednesday before the Man United game, but there will be a podcast being released tomorrow. For all those that actually have the membership, I would say that podcast is going to be released to you nice and early. So anybody that wants to see it earlier rather than later, feel free to grab a membership and you'll be checking it out there. But everybody, really do appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you all for supporting me, supporting Dave, everything on this road to the 10K. Hit that like button, please, on the way out if you haven't. And I will be seeing you. Come on, you Spurs. See you tomorrow, everybody. Bye. Everywhere we go.